Okay, so this week's Street Talk then. Well, if you've been listening to our Street Talk shorts on YouTube, plug, you'll already know a little bit about how we've been thought about this one. But today, now we get to relax and talk about it at our leisure.
One thing I want people to just be aware of is not to seek out consistency in my scoring.
So if you loved something on the Street Talk shorts, you might hate it by the time you get to the podcast and vice versa.
It is perfectly possible for me to give banging 3 times in a row on the shorts and still give this week
2 out of
5 because I've never claimed to be consistent.
Well, speaking of banging, poor old Teddy got banged on the head tonight's episode, didn't he?
I thought he got punched to death.
Thank you very much. You stole my storyline.
You stole my joke earlier in the
joke?
YouTube shorts.
Oh, I did steal one joke from you, didn't I?
Yeah.
Punched to death is what I'm going to call the Teddy storyline. I thought as well we could call it Knucked on the Head. But yeah, punched to death.
Yeah, I liked your style
It's punchier.
Earlier today when we were doing the YouTube shorts and you were like, oh, we've got to record it again because I didn't do it right this time. Then steal my joke right in front of me.
We have then my storyline titles are rubbish. Then we got this.
This is just a teaser for people to go and see. If you can work out which joke Michael stole off me on the YouTube shorts for the 20th of January.
I think you can almost hear your sigh just coming through it. Okay, so yeah, we got the summer gated story coming next. We had wedding days last week. This week we had school days because we had a bit of a flashback to Daisy's time at school, didn't we? So we'll find out about that. We had the return of Jacob's Dada storyline, but not the return of Jacob. And then there was also a bit more of the John Stape story, followed by Geminder, which is the best I could come up with in a very short time frame for Gemma becoming a childminder.
So if I decided to become a childminder, would that be my business name?
Yeah, you would also be Geminder.
Hello, it's me, Geminder. Do you mind your own business? That's right. Get out of my drawers.
Well, maybe she should be called. Maybe if she should be Gemini Mind. Gemini Mind.
No.
As her full name. Okay, right. Punched to death, Gemma.
I get to do this one.
We have been waiting for this one.
Yes.
Go for it.
Yes.
I mean, some people love it, some people hate it. You thought it was banging.
What did you thought it was bog standard because you knew it was going to happen?
I gave today's episode a bog standard for a few reasons, but let's get to that when we get to it. Build up first, Gemma. What is old Stephen and Co been up to this week?
On Monday, Stephen comes to the pub. He wants to check on Teddy because Teddy is recovering, isn't he? Trying to get his memories back.
Yeah, he's doing not so bad.
He got up to in Canada and why he can't remember anything. Jenny invites him to come and sit with Teddy for a bit of breakfast. He has to head off, though. And then Teddy gives Jenny some thank you flowers. So is there something happening there? Yeah,
that was a bit of a red herring with the daisy floral.
Rita's got all this stuff to donate to charity that she lazy, so lazy. Go round to the precinct.
The whole point of that was to put the Chekhov's the Chekhov's gun there with a roof box there, wasn't it? Just to remind us that Audrey got Stephen a roof box for Christmas. I didn't need reminding about that,
though, because
that is literally my best ever prediction that's come true. I don't think I've ever predicted something quite so well. Only the contents was different. It wasn't obvious. I was a genius for coming up with that idea.
Well, Thank you very much. I don't think you were the only one that came up.
I haven't seen anyone else with that idea. Did you come up with that idea as well? Well, we both, we are a hive mind, you and I.
I think we were talking to each other about it, Michael. I don't think you came up with it by yourself.
I'm claiming it.
Well, listen, I thought this was hilarious because, have I said this before or not? I can't remember. But all the big deal that Gail and David made of Stephen giving David a hip flask for Christmas. What a baffling gift that was. And then Audrey just gives a man with no car a roof box and nobody comments.
I think somebody did at the time. I can't remember what excuse was, but it was a pretty slightly lazy way of getting a roof box into the story. I mean, I don't mind personally myself, just because I'm pleased that I predicted what was going to happen with it, and the adventures of Teddy going up to the Peak District next week should be a lot of jolly fun. But yeah, they could have been a better reason for there to have been a roof box for Stephen to use, I'm going to say.
I'm assuming that Rita's donating this to the Gregory Pope shop. Yeah. So it's we don't know exactly where the precinct is situated in Weatherfield and how far of a walk it is, but she's not walking there. She's dumping it all in the car Stephen's like, oh, Jenny, you can use Audrey's roof box. And they're like, wow, what a gentleman, how helpful.
Rita is properly smitten with old Stephen. And
she takes him for a drink, and she knows he's sweet on Jenny, and she's quite pleased. She likes the idea of them being together, doesn't she? Stephen goes to see Teddy while he's at the bar, and Teddy's very friendly because he doesn't remember that he hates him, and he still doesn't remember anything about Canada, and he's like, maybe I'll just never know. Maybe I'll never remember. And Stephen's like, yeah, probably you will never remember. Just make peace with that.
Stop trying
to think about things. Meanwhile, Rita tells Jenny what a gent Stephen is, and she says, if I were you, I'd pounce on him like a pigeon on a pasty. Jenny doesn't really know whether he is spoken for with Elaine, and Rita says, no, he obviously fancies you, not Elaine. Poor Elaine hasn't had the message though, because on Wednesday she's inviting Stephen out for a bite to eat, and he's trying to get out of it, and she realises, and she gets annoyed because she thinks it's to do with the fact that this financial arrangement has put him off, and he says, oh no, I'll take you out to dinner later, I insist. And then he's all like, oh god, can't believe it, when she walks off. I feel so sorry for this woman.
I know, like, someone really ought to put her out of her misery.
Honestly though, I would rather just I would hate to be patronised like this.
Yeah.
Stephen's so condescending. I don't know who he thinks he is.
She kind of took the hint in today's episode, didn't she?
Well, it's about time.
Yeah.
Stephen sees Gail in the pub later and admits he is trying to let Elaine down gently, but she's not taking the hint. And he jokes, you should pretend you're gay, which I thought was a bit random. And she's like, pretend you're gay like good old dad. Teddy's listening in. And so he in inverted commas rescues Stephen from Elaine when they have a lunch date.
Yeah, he kind of
just comes in,
Gooseberries himself into it, doesn't he?
And she gets really annoyed and leaves and makes some pointed comments about him, ruining their date. And when he's gone, Teddy explains that he was helping Stephen out, and Stephen's grateful. They go to the bar. Daisy then says, "Would you like some mulled wine?" And then Teddy's like, "Mulled wine. Mulled wine, mulled wine, mulled wine, mulled wine, mulled wine." I remember the Christmas market.
It's all coming back to me.
Something to do with mulled wine.
I don't know why that's our Teddy voice. It was almost a Stephen voice there.
Well,
Daisy's like, this story just needs a little bit of a kick up the arse at the moment, so for no apparent reason, here's some mulled wine.
Yeah.
Just like, for no apparent reason, here's a roof box. Right,
so they go to the back, and he's like, oh, I remember seeing you before I got hit by the car, but I don't remember what we said. And Stephen's like, oh gosh. Then they're at the bistro, and Teddy's remembering stuff, and I don't know if this was a joke or not, but it was funny to me because he literally remembered nothing good about the whole trip to Canada. He's like, he hated the plane,
annoying child on the plane behind him.
The stupid kid on the plane. The food was awful on the plane. Went to the hotel room. That was bad too. There was a lumpy pillow. Hated that. But I can't remember anything about Leo. Then Elaine comes in, and Jenny tells Stephen to go and hang out with her, so he does reluctantly. He's distracted by the fact that he can't tell what is being remembered by Teddy.
Yeah, because Teddy could be like on the verge of a breakthrough any second, and Stephen's like, what's he talking about?
To Elaine whittering on about something. So Teddy's decided to go back to Canada, and that's the only thing to do. So on Friday, Stephen comes round to talk to Teddy and try to dissuade him from going to Canada, because he's going to only discover what he already discovered, which is that Leo never went to Canada. Teddy is determined he's going to go, so no go there. Elaine comes to the factory with coffee and pastries for Stephen, and he puts her off, and she gets knocked and leaves. Then Jenny texts Stephen to say, oh, there's been a last minute cancellation, so Teddy's going to Canada now. He rushes out to catch him, and he's like, oh, you don't want to go yet? Come and have a cappuccino with me, and I'll say goodbye. It's like, if I was there with my bag packed about to get on the blooming
it's all right. I'll have a pasta at the airport, thanks.
Yeah, no. In the pub, Jenny overhears Elaine telling Tim that she wishes she hadn't loaned Stephen all that money. But Gabrielle's so cruel to him, and Tim is shocked, and so is Jenny. And Tim says, "Oh, I can see that he's dropping you now. He's got all that cash off you, you idiot." We didn't say that. in the cafe. Stephen's talking to Teddy, and Billy's behind him having a good old earwig, isn't he? And
also inserted into the storyline.
Well, yeah. He's saying, "Oh, you know, Leo doesn't care about you. He doesn't give a damn about you. He knew you were in a coma and he never even came to see you. You told me he hates you. I think you should just not bother wasting all your money on going to Canada. Yeah, it's just it's not even very good there. The plane's rubbish. There are children everywhere. The food's terrible.
And people speak in these most ridiculous accents.
The pillows are lumpy." And he's like, "Oh, you know what? I guess you're right. Thanks, mate. Thanks for telling me. Maybe I won't go." And Stephen's like, "Oh, great, bye." Leaves.
My job here is done.
And Teddy starts talking to Billy, and he's like, "Oh, don't mean to
Sorry to interrupt your storyline, love, but I've got something that's slightly similar to this. It's happened to me recently.
My kid went missing, and couldn't get hold of her, and I wish I had, and I wish I had a tracking app. Wait a minute, that reminds me," says Teddy. "There's a tracking app thing or something. Do you remember that?"
You remember that? My mate, who very conveniently works in the tracking business or whatever.
He works for a mobile phone company.
Special branch.
Who investigated my missing son. Hasn't contacted me since I've been in a coma or come to see how I was or to bring up the fact.
He's a really, really good mate.
Like, hi Teddy, what happened about your son that went missing and he ended up just being around here? You found him yet? No, obviously he's like, "Teddy, I can track your son for you, but I will never talk to you again."
Yeah.
So anyway, he remembers that. Back at the factory, Sarah's asking Stephen if she and Michael can come to the factory because they've got a business meeting and they want to print off some labels. What kind of little podunky business are they running that they can't print their labels off somewhere else? He gave them 10 grand.
Yeah.
For start-up fees, and they're like, "Well, we'll save money on labels."
Well, your printer ink is very expensive, Gemma.
It is expensive. It's more expensive than human blood. And there's plenty of that washing around Weatherfield these days. So he says, "Oh yeah, sure, why not? Actually, everyone go home early. I'm in a really good mood." Because he thinks he's got away with murder. They all scurry off eagerly, and he's about to leave the factory when Teddy comes up to him and says, "I remember everything. I think you've done something to my son." And he says, "I've got reminded about my special branch friend and the messages and the triangulation and the fact that he didn't leave Weatherfield, and you're the one that told me. You've lied to me, and he's like, "No, I didn't. I would never lie." And Teddy's like, "Yes, you did."
Yeah, he remembers telling Stephen all this before he got hit by the van, didn't he?
And you said you can't remember it.
That's what's going on.
"Come inside and I'll explain," with a hole punch.
Teddy's like, "Yes, of course, I will go inside with the person that I think maybe murdered my son into a dark factory. That's a very, very sensible thing to do."
Audrey's looking for Stephen because she wants her car. She's going to the Peaks District to see Bev.
This is Bev, isn't it? Bev Unwin Bev. I think she's in the Peak District. That's who Deirdre was visiting.
Just say it is.
Yeah, we'll say it's. Yeah, because they made up after Deirdre died, didn't they?
Yes. So unfortunately for Teddy, action cam immediately comes into play as soon as they go into the office together. So you know Stephen's about to kill him. I think Coronation Street should try not doing that one time, because as soon as you see action cam, you know
there's going to be
someone's
action.
going to get hit in the face or be murdered.
I want surprise action.
Yeah. Stephen's like, "I didn't do anything to Leo, but I did lie because I just don't want you to be sad anymore. Leo hates you, obviously." And he's like, I don't believe you. I want to know about these messages. I think somebody else texted Leo from his phone. I don't think it was Leo. I think it was you. I think you killed Leo so you could get hold of Jenny. And it's like, oh, so close. You're so close to the truth. I like the way that Stephen was like offended. He's like, "I wouldn't kill anyone for a woman. It was an accident." Uh-oh. So he says, "I'm going to call the police." Stephen panics. Teddy turns around And Stephen grabs like a massive, hefty hole punch.
That is a heavy duty. I bet you could get through almost a whole ream of paper with that. That's a decent hole punch, isn't it? But be very careful, because I broke a hole punch at school. Oh, God, I better not say that just in case it gets out there. Over the Christmas holiday, I was punching.
Who did you kill with it?
Oh well, it's out there now. No, I was punching together a load of papers. I'd done a massive run of photocopying.
Idiot.
I was like, I'm going to get all of this in one. If the paper fits in the gap, you should be able to punch it. Surely, don't make the gap that big.
I remember that from the AJ trial. If the paper fits, you must acquit.
Exactly. No, so I stuck my paper in, punched it, and it just kind of like collapsed.
Completely went.
It went dong. Yeah. So there's a warning, everybody.
Well, this hole
don't
punch.
Don't overload your hole punch.
This hole punch was fine. It was Teddy that.
I know. I'm not surprised Michael wanted to borrow it. I'd sneakily forget to return it. To be honest.
Oh yeah, sounds like the sort of thing you'd do. So. These Tompkins men are very weak, aren't they? Because Leo dies just falling in a bin.
No, Leo died getting his head smashed against the railing. It was both head injuries.
And yeah, they've got skulls like paper.
Yeah, it must be a genetic thing.
Probably.
No, we'll come back to that. I'll come back to it. I've got all my opinions on this. We'll come back to them later.
He whacks him with a hole punch. Teddy goes down, and then in comes Michael. Hello, just looking to do those labels again. Seems like, oh my God, get out of here. He leaves Teddy on the floor in the main office, and Michael's blabbering on about, this sales pitch. Can you help me? We're trying to do a meeting, and he's like, no, you gotta go. Carla's coming. She's gonna be so mad if she finds out that you've been printing labels. You know what she's like? She's really petty with the paper. You just imagine her coming in on Monday going, hang on, what's going on here? There used to be 100 labels and now there's only 99 sheets left. What's happened?
We're in a recession, Gemma. You've got to count those pennies. Yeah.
So Michael's like, do you know what I actually would quite like to use? Hole punch.
Oh, what
I'm not going to use it for files though. I want to smack Sarah on the head to get out of this stupid business I'm trying to do with it. Steve's like, oh no, I'll get it. Don't you worry. I'll bring it to you. He looks over at Teddy on the floor and then runs back to Michael. He's like, off you go. You better hurry up because Carla's going to come. She's going to be so mad. Runs back into the office, checks for a pulse. Teddy is dead. And he's like, no, why?
It's the curse of the Teds. I'll tell you. If you're a Ted on Coronation Street, you are for the chop.
I love this so much. It's so funny. He's done it again. He's killed again.
Oops, he did it again.
Now, it cuts to an advert break, and the shot that we get is the factory floor.
CCTV cam, wasn't it? Yeah, that interesting. So it was and they didn't make anything of the CCTV for the rest of the episode.
And there was nobody on it.
No.
So we don't know what was picked up, but we have been warned now.
Well, it would have shown
up, yeah.
Michael and Teddy going in there. Stephen and Teddy going in there, Michael coming in as well. Presumably, it would also have picked up Stephen dragging his body out. So I hope that Carla's not doing a little CCTV check on the next episode.
Well, no. So, the next time we see him, he's got this roof box, which is obviously containing the dead body of Teddy. And he's trying to get it into the back of the van. And Kevin and Abby come over and they're like, why are you trying to put it in the back? Why don't you put it on the top? And he's like, and they're like, we'll help you. And so they all lift this. Tim comes over too because he's nosing about and he wants to go at Stephen. But they all help him lift this dead body onto the roof. They're going to feel
so stupid when they realise. They're going to go, why don't we know?
When I was looking at this, I was thinking that roof box actually looks like a really cool futuristic coffin. I think George and Todd should look into this as a cheaper alternative. Like you say, we're coming into a recession maybe, cost of living crisis. What better way to save money than to bury everybody in their own roof boxes? Tell you what,
it's a bit like the Vikings being buried in their or burned in their boats.
Yeah, there's quite a few dads that would probably really like that. Like, yeah, that's very practical. Yeah, I agree with that. Good idea. Anyway, they hoist him aloft and strap him to the roof, although I didn't actually see them strap him. So imagine Audrey just gunning it, screeching around the corner. Teddy flings off. She's like,
smashes into the brewery.
She's like, he didn't really like that box anyway. And he's just lying there somewhere. That's not what happened. So anyway, he's got this roof box on the top, and then Tim confronts him and says, "What's going on with you and my mum?" And he says, well, we're just friends. And Tim says, don't you mess her around. Jenny comes along and Audrey wants the car. He's panicking. He needs the car. He's got to take sewing machines to be fixed. And Jenny's like, right, that's it. I need to talk to you about what's in that roof box. So he takes her inside, and he's probably minutes away from also bashing her in the head, but he's probably hasn't got any idea about where to stow the body.
He hasn't got any other. He's just weighing up which of the stationery supplies there. Oh, should I do the stapler? Will that work? I don't know. Oh, I've got a Newton's cradle here. That might
I'll
make
put her head right in the middle of it.
Yeah, or just jab her in the eye with a pencil, maybe stick it up the nose.
Oh yeah.
But luckily, thank goodness.
She's got the wrong end of the stick. Yes. She thinks he's stealing the sewing machines
because he's poor. Because
he's borrowed money off Elaine, and he's like, "Oh gosh, no, I'm not stealing, sewing machines. Although that is a really good idea now I think about it. Gabrielle cleared me out, but I'm paying it back to Elaine." And she's like, "I thought, do you fancy Elaine then, or is it you just in it for the money?" And he's like, "Oh, there's a spark, but not anymore." And Jenny's like, well, I'm your friend if you ever need to talk. So after this weird, frankly, very weird conversation, which didn't really make a lot of sense, he comes out and the car's gone. There's Sarah and Michael with their arms full of paper, ready to
do business.
Them. And she's like, oh yeah, Gran just took it to go to the Peak District. She told you she wanted to borrow it. And he's like, oh, I've got really important things. And oh my God, don't tell her not to look in the roof box. Oh, I cannot wait to see what happens on Monday.
I feel like the closing shot on today's episode was, I mean, it's pretty much Stephen's rest face at the moment, isn't it? Going, oh.
Do you know, he panics like a Muppet. You know, like on the Muppets, where when they panic, they kind of like, they wiggle their arms about and they open their mouth and like, ah!
Out of it. Yeah.
It reminds me of that. I just love it so much.
But nobody else ever notices.
No. And so, yeah, I mean, he's John Stape in it right up, isn't he?
He is a bit. I mean, yeah, it wasn't, I can't say it was an accidental death. I mean, it
wasn't an accident.
No. But I mean, John Stapes were kind of accidental. Well, no, actually, Charlotte Hoyle wasn't. Actually, Charlotte Hoyle was a hammer to the back of the head. In fact, it was very similar. Although, to be honest, I think it's probably easier and more realistic to kill someone with a hammer than a hole punch. But
it was a hefty hole punch.
Yeah, full marks for originality there, Corrie. Whoever came up with that one.
I want to go to Staples and see what kind of murderous hole punches they carry.
Yeah. You're right, you reckon?
I want to see if I can buy one. It might come in useful.
So, you very much enjoyed this tonight,
Brilliant.
didn't you? I really wanted to, and there were bits that I definitely did enjoy, but I ended the episode feeling a little bit let down, partly because I went into the episode somewhat spoiled about what was going to happen. Although I hadn't seen for sure that Teddy was the one that was going to be offed by Stephen, Coronation Street made no secret of the fact, and was in fact blowing the trumpet of spoilers that Stephen would kill again. And the word was out there as well, wasn't it? Because since watching the episode, we had a look through the synopses of today's episode and the pictures and everything, and they were saying, yep, Teddy's dead. Stephen kills him. So I'm guessing in the TV guides where Stephen kills again was emblazoned across the front pages last week. If you were to buy one of those, you'd say it was Stephen. They just completely and utterly spoiled it. And I'm thinking,
what? Teddy. So
yeah. Why would you do this? Why spoil it? Is it just to get the viewers in? It must be.
I think I know what happened, but I'm not going to say.
What?
I think I know what happened, but I'm not going to say.
Oh, I don't know what happened. Oh, interesting. You've got a theory. Tell me later. I really, really wish they hadn't, because if we'd all gone into this episode not knowing that Stephen was going to kill again, it would have been so much more effective.
I loved it. I don't care. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I loved the fact that he used the roof box. I mean, even if you knew all of that was going to happen, which you didn't 100% for sure.
Yeah, I don't know whether
Audrey was going to drive off into the sunset.
I don't know whether that was in the synopsis.
With the dead body.
I don't know whether that was in the synopsis or not. But no, whenever I know what's going to happen, and if I think it's going to be something quite exciting, I'll always build it up bigger in my head and go, oh, this is going to be the most epic thing ever. And then sometimes, I won't say more often than not, but sometimes I'm let down when what I'm thinking is going to happen is not quite living up to my expectations. And although I'm glad that the roof box thing happened, I did prefer my theory of Stephen scaling the scaffolding and then climbing into his bedroom window at the Rovers.
That was your prediction, wasn't it? You predicted that he was going to kill Teddy. So
I did. I'm doing well for my predictions this year. No, I didn't cheat.
Well, you said you knew that he was going to kill Teddy. I'm just trying to clear it up.
What? No, I didn't know he was going to kill Teddy.
Oh, I thought you said you did know.
No, I didn't know that he was going to kill him before today. But I knew that the spoilers were... I knew that he was going to kill somebody.
Oh. Well, I think if you knew he was going to kill somebody, it's pretty obvious it's going to be Teddy.
Well, yeah, exactly. Although at the beginning of the episode, the beginning of the week it wasn't, but after Wednesday's episode when Teddy's memory starts to come back, if you've even just seen the headline, Stephen kills again, but you've avoided any other spoilers, like I did, then it's like, well, clearly it's going to be him then. There could have been a bit of a curveball, like, could have been Elaine, could have been Jenny or whatever, but...
It's not going to be Jenny.
No, exactly, it wasn't. So it really winds me up, really does. The scene itself was fine. I do think that
God.
No, I'm just saying. Look, you can tell me how good it was in a minute if you like. I just thought that Stephen's reaction was a bit hokey and a little bit over the top, and I don't necessarily buy that you can kill someone with a hole punch, but I've never tried, so I don't know. It just wasn't my favourite murder on Coronation Street, I have to say, and all the coincidences with Jenny's overheard such and such talking about his money woes, and here's a coincidence, Michael wants to use the factory later, and here's a coincidence. It just all added up to being a little bit contrived, unfortunately. But the best bit of the whole thing was absolutely Audrey driving off with the roof box at the end of it. I almost wish we'd have seen...
No.
That we'd have got, the final shot could have been Audrey tootling down the road just with a blissful smile on her face. Just imagine if the last shot of the episode, rather than Stephen going gulp, it had been Audrey driving down the road just singing along to a car radio or something, blissfully unaware of what was mere feet above her. I think that would have been
I loved the way it was. I just
episode.
Loved him coming out and going, "Oh no, where's the car gone?" and the way that he was like protesting too to Sarah and Michael that she can't have taken the car because he'd need something in the roof box, as though that made any difference whatsoever to whether or not she'd taken it.
Yeah. Well, I hope that Audrey isn't planning. What do you get at the Peak District? Like fudge or something? I don't know. I hope she's not planning to fill the roof box with that.
Isn't it going to start to smell? I suppose it's quite cold at the moment. It is.
It's January. It's perfect. It's prime corpse transporting climate at the moment. To be honest,
we need to ask George what he thinks.
Oh yeah. Well,
he's probably
Undertaker George.
Yeah.
I just think that if I compare this episode to the Leo death episode, that wins hands down every time, and I think it's partly to do with the direction, partly just the circumstances and everything. Everything with that episode to me, and it wasn't just the fact that we saw bits of it being filmed, works a lot better. Clearly, the Stephen dragging Leo's corpse into the van was done so much better. All of the shots of Leo's body with like the blood oozing out of the ears, you didn't have any of that with Teddy, did you?
It was a lot more
It was
sinister.
a lot more, a million times more sinister that was. And then you also had... that happened halfway through the episode, if I remember rightly, back in September. And then the rest of the episode was Stephen completely on edge and like the police turning up at the factory and are they going to go and look in the bins, but they don't and everything. And it just felt like they got the tension a million times righter in that one than this one. It just didn't have me on the edge of a seat in the same way, unfortunately, even though with that one I knew how the episode was end because we'd seen it being filmed, and this one I didn't know how it was going to end. So I don't. What do you think? Do you think that...
I thought it was a really good mirroring shot because we had a few shots of us seeing Stephen from the inside of the van, just like we did when he was trying to drag Leo into the back. So that was really cool, like a little bit of a mirror there.
Little bit of a
I agree with you that it wasn't as high stakes, but that's because we expected this to happen. Like when Stephen killed Leo, it was so unexpected and really sinister and dark, and they're doing to Stephen what they did to John Stape, where it becomes farcical, and I like that. I think it's funny, and so it doesn't need to be really gory and shocking and stuff. It's just the kind of hammy panto.
I think they need to de-ham it a little bit.
I don't. I love it. I think how can you not love Abby, Kevin, Tim,
no, I did enjoy that.
and Stephen all lifting this box of a corpse, and him being confronted by Jenny about stealing sewing machines.
I wonder how tempting it was for Ellen Taylor, who wrote tonight's episode, not to throw in the line, "Oh, it feels like you've got a dead body in here."
Yeah, I think that would have been a step too far. But
yeah, Jenny coming along and saying, "I want to talk to you about the contents of that roof box." And that was obviously meant to make you go, "What? Does she know anything?" But when she came up with the thing of, "You're stealing sewing machines," we both kind of looked over at her and thought, why would she immediately jump to that conclusion?
I don't understand.
I mean, I guess the whole thing with Jenny being there was literally just to get him back inside the factory so that Audrey could come and take the car.
I don't know why she said anything about the sewing machines, though. It would have made more sense if she'd just said, "Can I talk to you about Elaine? Like, do you fancy her? Because I'm getting mixed messages off of you."
Yeah. So, I mean, that bit of the conversation wasn't too bad, and it definitely kind of ties into the theory that Stephen and Jenny may well be getting a bit closer in the coming weeks, doesn't it?
Killer landlord.
I know, it could happen,
I have seen lots of people saying that they think that Michael's going to be framed for the crime of...
I thought that as well.
I don't know.
Racial profiling rears its ugly head again.
Well, obviously, Stephen's going to realise at some point that there's CCTV, and it's going to be this is my prediction. He's going to be reminded in some weird roundabout way by Carla saying something like, "Oh, well, better do my monthly viewing of everything that's happened in the factory for no reason." And then he'll be like, "Oh my God, no, I'll do it for you. Don't worry about it." And then he'll manage just in the nick of time to get the tapes and dispose of them. But I think it's a bit of a red herring to think that Michael's going to be framed for this, because number one, he hasn't got a motive. Number two, if Stephen plays his cards right, nobody thinks that Audrey's going to find this corpse. She's going to come back on Monday and he'll be like, "Oh, Mum, did you have a good time?" And she'll be like, "Oh, lovely. Anyway."
Unless, I mean, he could very well follow her up to the Peak District. Are we going to get some location shooting? I would absolutely adore that.
But listen, the other thing is, nobody knows that Teddy didn't go to Canada.
Yes, I mean, that's the big thing, isn't it? It's very convenient that both of Stephen's victims are both supposed to be on their way to Canada. So is we just going to be on a loop here? Teddy's, brother comes along and says, "Oh, I just need to go and speak to Teddy. I'm going to go over to Canada to find Teddy." And while I'm there, the whole Tompkins family is just going to be emigrating across the pond.
The entire population of Weatherfield is going to be murdered, saying they're going to Canada.
Yeah.
And the other side, Justin Trudeau's going to be there going, "I thought people were going to come round for tea. Everyone said they were coming here and nobody is. Does nobody like me anymore? I do yoga."
Yeah, I mean...
That's what he sounds like.
I assume that there aren't any other contacts. They can't keep stringing that along again. So everyone's just going to assume that Teddy's gone to Canada.
So here's another prediction. He's going to take his phone. Stephen's going to take Teddy's phone and he's going to learn from his past mistake and turn it off and destroy it immediately without texting people. Yeah. And then his friend's going to turn up and be like, "I'm the bloke I'm
the triangulation guy.
He couldn't be bothered to turn up when my friend was in a coma, but I heard he was going to Canada and I wanted to ask him if he could get me some maple syrup." And then he'll be like, "Listen here, you leave him alone." Like, I think he'll try to intimidate him.
Wouldn't it be ironic if the triangulation guy turns up and he says, "Sorry, I didn't come and visit you. I couldn't work out which hospital you were in."
But the question is, how is he going to cover for him going missing as regards to Jenny?
He doesn't need to.
Yes, he does, because Jenny's going to wonder where the hell Teddy's gone. She knows he's gone to Canada and he has a phone with him and they'll be in touch with each other and she'll be texting him going, "Any update? What's happening? You in Canada yet? How was your flight? I heard there was an annoying kid the first time." And he'll be like, radio silence. Then she'll start getting suspicious and ask, ask Stephen. But if he's stupid, he can't be stupid enough to do the mobile phone trick again, knowing that his friend can track the... Maybe he'll go to Canada and text and go, it's me, Teddy. I'm here. I don't want to talk to you anymore.
You smell. Send.
Right. Throw that in a I don't
pot
know.
of poutine.
Yeah, and then come back on the plane.
Sorted. Whatever happens, I do not expect that Stephen is going to be rumbled for this for a very long time.
Hanging about in the airport, going, "Hey, you're going to Canada. Can you take this phone with you and text somebody when you get there?
Strange request."
This is going to sound really weird, but here's £100.
I think he's going to totally get away with this. But he's gonna get the body. Maybe he's gonna push it down a mountain
how much of this are
in
we
the
gonna
Peak
see?
District, or is he going to bring him back to Weatherfield and bury him with Leo? And he's just going to have this graveyard of Tompkins down there. I don't know, but he's going to totally get away with it. The CCTV, he's going to find that.
Oh, I know what he could do if he goes to the Peak District. And he manages to get the corpse off of Audrey. He could chuck him in the water, and then make out that he killed himself because he was so sad about.
Maybe
he could say, because he's got a witness now. Billy saw him talking to Teddy, and that might come up too. Because Billy might be like, "No, he didn't go to Canada because I spoke to him about it, and he said, and I told him to keep looking for Leo. No, he did go to Canada." Stephen told him not to go.
Stephen told him not to go to Canada. So Billy overheard him saying, "I'm not going to go to Canada."
But then Stephen could be like, "Oh yeah, but he was so sad it's my fault. I feel really guilty because I told him his son hates him, and maybe that it was too much for him, and he went to the Peak District, and killed
to
himself."
Have a peak. I don't know. I don't know. I can't think that far ahead. I just think that he's going to get away with it for longer. The CCTV is going to be found. I can't.
If you find a dead body floating about in a lake, I assume they've got lakes in the Peak District and peaks in the Lake District. I'm not completely sure. But if you find a dead body floating around in a lake with a bonk on its head, you're just going to assume that he hit his head and then fell in the lake and died. I suppose there wouldn't be any water in his lungs. Look, the Weatherfield police aren't that good.
No. Yeah, but the Peak District police,
they're on it.
They're peak policemen.
Do you think it will be Sarah Lancashire as a...
Oh yeah, get Raquel in, so they'd retrain. No, I think the hole punch that Michael's now got. I just don't think that. Nobody's going to be looking for a hole punch.
Can I just say,
they're going to find the body and say, "Oh, we found a flurry of little mini paper circles on the corpse. What can this mean?"
That means. None of this will ever be part of the story. This is not what Corrie. We've been burned too many times with this minutiae of a murder. Where we're like, oh yeah, but Pat Phelan and the earring in the office and Anna and the vacuum cleaner and Seb was up the ladder and all this stuff. It comes to nothing in the end. Corrie doesn't care about all those details.
There must be a reason.
At the end of it, he's going to be found out by making a mistake, and he'll confess, or it'll be obvious what's happened, and he'll never. I don't think he's ever going to go to court for any of this. I think he's going to die.
Yeah,
at the end of this story. So all this stuff about did he bonk him on the head with this, that, or the other thing? How exactly did the whole thing happen? None of it will come to anything.
There's just got to be a reason that he gave it to Michael, because at the moment there's no reason for the police to be investigating the factory at all. He's managed to cover himself quite well up to this point. I don't
think anyone's going to look at the whole punch, and I don't think that Michael's going to notice.
You said that when we were watching it that he should have gone down in a shower of little paper holes, didn't you? That would have been quite...
It would have been great. It would have been...
Then he bashes him, it just goes, ooh, yeah, all over the place.
And then he would have had to have scrambled on the floor picking up all the holes.
Yeah.
That would have been great.
Yeah, maybe it was a good idea in theory, but maybe that would have been just made too much of a mess on the set. I don't know. Anyway, so it was quite exciting.
I loved it. I think it's great. I can't wait for more. What's going to happen?
We assume there was going to be more. I mean,
well, if on Monday it's like, Stephen, you look really shifty, and he's like, yeah, never mind. I just had a hard weekend. And then we don't see any of it. I'll be a bit disappointed. But...
Yeah, no, I'm sure.
But
they wouldn't set us up for this and then just tell us about what happened. No, I really don't think so. But we've been talking about the possibility of there being a second victim for a long time. I mean, it just seemed to be a given in the Corrie viewing community, didn't it, that Stephen was going to kill again. So it's good that at last we found out who the first victim is. And, I mean... is he gonna kill again?
Yeah, he's got to kill Gabrielle because there's no reason why we needed to see her the other day when she was on the phone. And she was in a car in England or in the UK, wasn't she? Because she had the car driving on the other side of the road, which you don't in Italy or Canada. So she's not either of those places. She's next, and then he's going to come a cropper when he tries to kill Elaine. That's my prediction.
Whenever I see Elaine at the moment, I'm thinking, oh please, just bump her off. Can't he just?
You're rude.
She's just so annoying, isn't she?
She's just such a victim.
I feel bad for Stephen. Like if she kept coming into my workplace and giving me Danishes and coffees, I'd be like, oh, leave me alone, woman.
He keeps feeding her donut. He's like giving a passy to the pigeon.
I think it's a good idea having Jenny as part of this story because honestly, everybody else who's involved with Stephen are fairly low stakes. Apart from, Audrey herself, obviously. But nobody cares about Leo dying, sorry. Nobody's going to be mourning Teddy or missing him. He needs to have a victim that is going to, cause waves and ripples.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he's going to kill Jenny, but I think that Jenny needs to be in danger at some point. We need to think that maybe he's going to kill him. But... yeah, I don't know whether he is actually going to kill a main character, but he should because Richard started off. He let Dougie die. He was a main character. Then you had Patricia, not main character. Who cares? And then the grand finale was Maxine. John Stape. He didn't have any main character victims, did he? I mean, Charlotte Hoyle and Joy Fishwick, and I think that was it, wasn't it?
Yeah, but then you've got
Pat Phelan, obviously, who Andy, Luke, watching Michael. No, I'm going to say that they were more major than Teddy
but they're not as major as Maxine.
No, I hope.
I think that Richard Hillman wins so far for the highest stakes victim.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely agree with you there. But...
now, is there anybody on the street? I mean, if you're talking bright young things with a hopeful future ahead of them, why don't you just bump off Summer?
No, yeah.
I think a lot of people would actually really like it if he did that.
I
don't want to sacrifice anybody.
Sometimes you've got to sacrifice a great character to make it a long-lasting, memorable storyline.
Who wants to leave?
Like we've said before, there's been, lots of people aren't really keen on this story. And I think that possibly for some people... raising the stakes by having him kill off a major character
I think that would annoy them.
Might just help.
Now, if I was Ian McLeod, I'd have a big meeting in the gym.
Yeah, anyone? I was going to say, bring on all the characters. Anyone want to take one for the team? Anyone want to be bumped off
in the gymnasium after school. Everyone comes.
Oh, okay.
And I'll say, right, I'm not going to kill you, but I want a volunteer, and if I don't get one, I'll start bumping people off one by one.
I don't know. What did you think about the whole Teddy's memory coming back? Did it feel realistic to you? It felt
organic to me because things were jogging his memory that made sense.
I mean, this is apparently how those kind of things work. Maybe I'm just thinking about fiction here.
It doesn't need to work. In a biological manner because it's fiction, and I know that we moan about stuff, but this is
Daisy randomly bringing out the mulled wine was a little contrived.
This whole story is suspension of disbelief for me. They can do whatever fantastical stuff they want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're in it for the murder.
I love
and the
it.
Darkness.
More murders. Kill off Gabrielle. Kill off Elaine. Kill off. Who else can he kill off?
There's plenty. I'd like him to have a period of thinking he's got away with it because I am a little bit tired of desperate panicking Stephen. There's only so much of that I can take. I think he needs to be kind of cock of the walk, like I got away with this now.
He was today when he let everybody go home early.
Yeah, he's a boss.
It was the architect of his own doing that.
So yeah, not too bad stuff. I'm glad you really, really enjoyed it. It was so for me, but partly it was me building it up in my own head, like I said. Summer storyline. Are you ready to move on to that? I actually thought that Monday's summer episode was really quite exciting. I gave Monday's episode a banging on our Street Talk shorts, and a lot of that was because of the summer stuff. So we were left last week with her tapping on on that window to try and escape the nursery prison that she's found herself in Esther and Mike's house. And we were thinking, what's she going to try? How's she going to try and escape? You had all your theories about, or if I was trapped in a room with such and such equipment. But she doesn't bother, does she? She wakes up first thing on Monday's episode after her first floor-lying scene of 2023, but by no means is it her last one. Somebody I saw on the internet the other day made a little collage with pictures of Summer collapsing all the various times over the year. Well done, whoever did that. Anyway, so it's still dark, so it's middle of the night. Mike comes up to the door and calls through, and she's like, I need to top up my insulin, my glucose levels are too high. And he's like, no, I don't believe you. Well, he says he doesn't believe her anyway. And he says, look, I just can't risk you talking to Esther. He's clearly got no plan at the moment. He panicked, locked her in there, and is like, what do I do now? Because once you've imprisoned someone, you've either got to kill him or you've got to go down for the crime, haven't you? As Pat Phelan himself found after he had Andy locked up in that cellar for all those months.
Yeah. This is you've just upped the ante, haven't you? And it's
I mean, there was a point when Andy Carver was almost convinced to say, look, I'll go on the run, I won't say anything. He got a bit of the Stockholm syndromes there, didn't he? But Summer sadly didn't have enough time trapped in the room to get help to get that. But I want to just at this point, you were listening randomly to one of our older episodes the other day, weren't you?
What did I say?
Well, you texted me a load of things. This was at the beginning of, what was it, episode? It's before 500 anyway. It was when Summer was diagnosed with her diabetes. And one of the things you told me was that I said, I wonder how long it will be for Summer to be trapped in a room without her insulin. Yep. So there we go, that's happened.
It's episode 476. It's just started randomly playing on my Podbean app for some reason. And my phone just turned off, so I can't tell you.
Oh, well. You were talking about, you were saying, why is it always female characters that have got...
I said, there's no male character with diabetes.
Yeah.
And that made me remember that Aaron has diabetes.
He does, yeah, so you got that.
Yeah,
we predicted this storyline.
But if I was Aaron...
2 years ago.
If you're Aaron, after a certain amount of time, aren't you just looking at someone going, why is this so difficult for you?
Fine.
Why are you always fainting?
The other thing that you said that we said back then was, well, at least Summer, she's a really sensible girl, and if anyone's going to manage diabetes and having to inject yourself and taking your bloods and everything, then it's going to be Summer. So that was quite funny that turned out not to be true at all. Anyway, so she's there, she's still trapped in the room, but then Aaron comes round to the flat to find Summer. So she's to Billy's flat, and Billy's a bit confused, and he's like, hang on a minute, I thought that Summer was with you. So this is when they start to realise, where is Summer got to? So he phones her up, leaves a message on her.
Sorry, I'm trying to charge my phone.
You're being really, really sneaky about this. I don't think anybody's noticed
I think I got away
that you're rooting around in your handbag at the moment. It's fine. So they're like, where's Summer? He leaves her a message, checks his glucose app thingamabob, but says it stops sending notifications. We know this is because Summer's phone's run out of battery. So they're a bit panicky. So meanwhile, back at the Esther and Mike's house, Summer and Mike are there talking through the door, and he's like, Esther can't find out that I've got a child.
That I kidnapped you.
Yeah, my heart's breaking, but everyone makes mistakes, just like you did, Summer, with the money when you took that £10,000 knowing that you'd had a miscarriage. Well, she got the first 10 grand, honestly, didn't she? But she did somewhat deceive him to get the next one.
She should have given it back when she realised.
I know, exactly. So Summer kind of realises that, I've been a bit devious as well with this. So Paul's later on the hunt for Summer, but nobody's got any idea where she is. Mike brings in Summer a can of some drink or something, but then he has to dash off because he gets a notification on his doorbell, and it's it's Aaron coming to the door, and this is all quite exciting because it's like, what's going to happen? Is he going to find out? Is he going to realise that Summer's there? And Mike's like, no, Summer came round earlier. She's just gone shopping with Esther. Yeah, it's fine. They've gone to town. No, don't ring up Esther. She might be driving. I'm not going to give you her phone number. No, it's fine. And Aaron kind of is like, okay, that's a bit weird, but
it was just the worst
as long as she's there with Esther, I guess that's okay. So he kind of goes off on his way, and there's a bit of a banging that comes from upstairs, isn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, a pathetic banging. Oh, actually, that must have been her collapsing on the floor, was it?
Well, he said it was...
Yeah, there was a thud, and I thought it was maybe Summer trying to attract Aaron's attention, but I'm just kind of realising that was her collapsing onto the floor.
Wouldn't it?
What?
She just made no effort at all.
No, that's because she was collapsing. She was collapsing. It's not her fault.
She knew that there was somebody at the door.
Yeah, she did.
And she was like...
She could have taken her sock off and banged it on the window really, really hard. Flip, flip, flip. Anyway, yeah, Aaron's gone, and oh no, that wasn't her collapsing, because he then goes. I'm just looking at my notes again. He goes back up to the door, to the room, and Summer's getting all woozy and a bit blurry in the eyes there.
So she literally attract attention.
She was trying to attract
Aaron's.
Yeah, but with like one pathetic thud. Anyway, Mike brings her a charger later and says, look, I just want to sit and talk with you, maybe have a cup of tea or something, I need to explain myself. He lets himself into the room, and she's collapsed. She's on the floor again. First collapse of the year.
Oops.
First of many, probably.
Yeah.
So Mike's like, oh, what do I do? She could die. I could get in trouble. Am I going to phone 999? Oh, but then I might have to explain the whole why she trapped in the nursery thing. So he checks her pulse, and he's like, Summer, wake up. He tries to feed her sugar,
yes,
doesn't he? Which is apparently not the thing that you're supposed to do when somebody's
everybody knows this.
Collapsed of a diabetic attack.
You know this, don't you?
I do now.
Don't put anything in anyone's mouth if they're unconscious.
Nothing, not even for a joke.
Not even a funny cigar or something for a picture.
So put it on the internet so they're passed out.
That would have been a good trick to blackmail her.
Yeah.
Like in spoiler alert, Happy Valley.
Oh yeah, I know the scene you're talking about.
Put some incriminating stuff around her, and then when she wakes up, be like, "Ha! If you tell anyone I kidnapped you and put you in a diabetic coma, I'm going to show them a picture of you
dressed in a Cambridge scarf."
Yeah, they'll never
let you into Oxford now. Anyway, so meanwhile, Aaron is back with Billy saying that something didn't seem quite right with Mike, so they're kind of getting a bit more worried and suspicious. Esther then turns up just to compound the drama. She turns up with Mike, and she's like, what the hell is going on? What's Summer doing on the floor? And Mike's like, I didn't mean for this to happen.
Why she got sugar all over her face?
Don't ask. Esther's kneels down next to her. It's like, Summer. And Mike's kind of having to admit to Esther that, I kind of kept her in the room overnight. She threatened to back out of the surrogacy, and I just panicked. I just trapped her in the room. And Esther's like, phone a bloody ambulance, you nutcase. So she rings 999, explains what's going on. Summer's looking dead pale at this point. Of course we knew that she would be okay, because Summer always bounces back from these things. But Esther says, Mike, if Summer dies, it's on you.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, we'd forgive you, Mike.
I don't think
Don't worry about it. Esther might hold it against you, but yeah, it's okay, it's fine. Billy, Aaron, and Todd, meanwhile...
We should have a nice funeral. You know that for a fact, because Billy would do
he'd put out all the stops.
ceremony, and Todd would get her a discount.
Yeah, that's very true, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know what Paul would bring to the ceremony.
DJing?
He'd be doing his Let's Get Ready to Rumble dance, wouldn't he, in his unicorn onesie.
Do some dancing.
So... Todd, Billy and Aaron, very, very worried about where Summer is. So they go and have a nice cup of tea in the cafe to talk about what a terrifying situation this is, because they don't know where their collective daughter is. And Todd says, last thing I spoke to Summer about was telling her that Mike had had an affair, so maybe that's related to it. And Billy's like, she must have gone and confronted Mike. What could Mike do? Should we call the police? And they're like... No! Why would we call the police? That would make the storyline over and done with too quickly without any drama. We need to go and vigilante it up and go and have it out with them ourselves. And anyway, what if Summer is actually shopping with Esther, like Mike said? Oh, and then the police will be so mad at us for calling them out for nothing.
We'll be messing with Summer's street cred in front of her new friend.
Yeah, exactly. So, cut to the hospital, and
Super nurse.
Super nurse Aggie is there.
Patron saint of the NHS.
Yeah, she's in many places at once. She runs herself ragged, that woman. But she happens to be there of this huge hospital just when Mike and Esther come in with Summer, and they're giving her a fake name and everything. What was it? Davina Latte or something it sounded like, which is hilarious. And Aggie's like, what's going on there? That's Summer Spellman, which is a perfectly normal name.
See,
Summer Spellman is like the most fictitious name ever in Coronation
Harry
Street.
Potter name,
It's a proper Harry Potter name. Exactly. I love it. I love the name Spellman. But and I'm sure there are people out there actually called it, but Summer Spellman is just like screams fictitious to me. Anyway, so what was it? They say, oh yeah, she's an orphan, so don't try contacting her parents because they're dead, and that's like really insensitive.
Aggie's like, now I'm sure that's not right, but then actually she is
an orphan technically.
So mind your own business, Aggie.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, she says, oh, we just met her through church and everything. So the gay dads, except Todd, but also Aaron, arrive at the hospital later. And because Aggie's kind of said, better come here. So Summer's just come in. I know patient confidentiality and everything, but your daughter's just come in. Yeah. Esther and Mike then come in through some doors, so they all have a bit of a standoff in the hospital waiting room. And the Billy's like, what's going on here? And they're like, don't worry about that. What matters is that Summer's okay.
We don't know.
No. She said, oh, we just found her collapsed. We'd come back from shopping. She was so shagged out after a hard morning's shop that she must have just collapsed on the nursery floor.
And this nurse is stupid. She didn't understand properly what we were saying.
Oh, yeah. They said, well, yeah, why did you call her Davina Latte?
And he's like, no, I dropped her off and I said, oh gosh, could you Davina Latte right now? I couldn't you?
They said, no, the nurse must have misheard. And Aggie comes over and is like, no, I know what I heard. You're well suspicious, you
And also,
guys.
the doctor wrote down Davina Latte, so explain that.
Yeah, exactly. So she says, yeah, it's all written down. I don't think you're getting away with this one. So Billy and that continue to harangue Esther and Mike about what's going on, and then Todd shows up and tells them about Ava, Mike's mistress, who also phoned him, by the way, to ask if Summer was okay, very handily, and she told Todd that she and Summer met up yesterday in the precinct. We didn't see the precinct at all this week, did we? I just realised. And not only did Summer meet Ava, but she also met her little lad Callum. And that's when the penny drops for Esther. She's like, oh, hang on. Because she knew about the affair, didn't she? But she was completely in the dark about the existence of this child of Mike's. So Esther's understandably heartbroken about this. Storms out of the hospital, though not before revealing that to everyone, by the way, he's just trapped Summer in a nursery overnight. and
then Mike kind of
thanks, Esther.
Mike does this like yoinks and kind of like runs off.
He goes chasing off after her rather than trying to defend himself. So that was quite exciting. And but by the end of the episode, Summer's with the police officer in the hospital saying, "Oh yeah, Mike locked me in. I told him the surrogacy was off." And then the police officer's like, "Yeah, fine, believe that." And then off she goes. And then at the end of the episode, all the gay dads and Aaron are having a lovely time round the bed together to offer her a bit of succour. And that leads us to Wednesday's episode, and Summer wakes up, everyone's there, she's fine, but then the police turn up. They want to talk to her because an allegation has been made that she lied about being pregnant and diddled Mike and Esther out of £10,000. So,
and someone's like, oh, what?
I definitely didn't.
I thought that was more of like a soap crime than a real crime.
What's worse, stealing £10,000 or trapping an annoying character in a nursery for a couple of hours?
Do you think if this all went to court, do you think the judge would be like, tit for tat though, innit? I think it should. I'm just going to say say, even Stevens.
Well, that's what they kind of ended up doing in the end, isn't it?
But I think that's how crime should go. I know that's not how they go.
An eye for an eye.
The judge is like, look, we've all just had enough of this, haven't we? You've been silly, someone's dead.
We all want to go home.
I don't think we should waste any more time on this. We should all just go and have a nice Davina latte and forget about it.
So Paul, over at Victoria Gardens, sees Todd there, and he tells him all about the police coming over earlier and the accusation that had been made by Esther and Mike, and Todd says, "Oh, it's all my fault because if I hadn't told Summer about Ava, blah, blah,
yeah,
blah."
probably,
quite possibly, and Paul's like, "Well, we're not going to let Summer down over this one.
Oh, just leave her. Let her die."
Billy, meanwhile, is still at the hospital with Summer. She's perked right up now. She's fine. She's in a classic Corrie bounce back from the brink of death. And she's like, "Oh, Billy, you don't even need to stay. I'm going to be fine here on my own." And he's like, "Oh, thank goodness for that."
He's like, "Are you sure you're not going to squirt insulin down the sink again, or eat a Mars bar, or drink an energy drink, or cheat on your exams? Because every single time I've looked away for more than 5 minutes, one of these things has happened. What else could you get up to in here?"
Well, as soon as he leaves, and literally we're talking about half a second after he steps through the curtains, Mike then sidles into the bay looking pretty sinister.
Yeah, he's pretty good at looking scary, that
Billy
guy.
Not so observant.
Billy's like, "I'm assuming that's the nurse just doing her rounds. I won't look back because..."
Nurses can be men.
Yeah. Who are also kidnappers.
Yeah. So anyway, Mike's like, "Look, I just want to talk. I was desperate. I locked you in the house. Look, can we both just retract our statements to the police and I'll say you didn't steal the money and you say that I didn't trap you in the nursery. That's fine, and it'll all be over. And even Esther, she may forgive me." And she's like, "Go to hell." And then he draws the curtains around the bed even more, and things start to get like proper heated. But sadly, before Mike can exact his revenge on Summer, Todd shows up. With Paul, and they both manhandle Mike out of the bay. And then Summer says, "Oh, Mike really scares me." So Paul's like, "Who? I go, big man. I punch scary man."
I don't like the things that happen that bad to Summer.
Chases off after.
To be fair, go on.
I just thought it was a bit ridiculous that both of these guys gave chase after Mike when they knew where he lived, and Summer was probably feeling a little bit distraught and maybe needed a bit of reassuring and comfort. Yeah.
One thing I was just about to say is that this is probably the first time that Paul's been able to actually punch something to help Summer out.
Why? What do you mean?
Well, he can't punch surrogacy, he can't punch diabetes, he can't punch exams.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Finally, this is in my skill set.
That will do something.
He's no good at anything else, bless him. I don't think that dancing around in a unicorn onesie is going to.
The pair of them were like, "Yes, we can do something for once. Let's go. Let's punch him in the face."
Well, they go down to the car park, and this was interesting at the time, wasn't it? Because they had a different hospital entrance. The Victoria Lodge, which they also used for the schools a few months back, they dressed up to be the hospital opening. So this is all the same car park.
This is quite near the entrance, but it is very... I mean, when I went for my MRI earlier in the week, this is where I went to a bit in the hospital that was basically in a little hut.
Did you get your MRI at Weatherfield General? Did you see Aggie? Did she give you your MRI?
Aggie came in and she said, "I'm the only one working here today, so I'm afraid I'm going to have to do everything for you. So lie back, enjoy."
Do you want to tell your MRI story?
No, I'll tell you what I'll do, everybody. If you're interested, I'm absolutely fine. I will tell you at the end of the podcast.
What it's like to have an MRI.
Not everybody wants to hear it, but it is quite... I think it was interesting.
Yeah, so I'm wondering whether they're doing that... we talked on the cabin a couple of months ago that they were going to be doing some building work outside the front entrance to the Coronation Street main offices, which is what they usually use for the hospital. That's
right. They're extending the...
So I wonder whether they're doing it now. I don't know. I didn't think it was happening yet.
Called?
Yeah, the entrance lobby.
No, the entrance.
Waiting room and everything.
You're right, yeah. I thought you were talking about the visitor centre, which is sort of in a similar area to that. They're doing lots of building stuff, aren't they?
But
so that makes sense why they've moved it over to.
But no, I don't think they actually are doing that now. But I just wondered. Well, anyway, that doesn't matter.
Well, maybe Maybe they're just easing us into this is what it looks like in a different bit of the hospital.
Maybe. Anyway, so Mike gets into his van. Paul gives chase. No, Mike's in his car, isn't he? Paul gives chase. Todd's in tow saying, no, don't do it. He's not worth it. He's not worth Literally, he's not. He's just going to his house.
And
you
also,
can see him later.
What's he going to punch him for? What? Upsetting Summer?
Yeah. You can punch him whenever you want, Paul.
Really? Out of everybody in this whole storyline, Mike's the most sensible person. Yes, he locked her up. That was stupid. But now he's like, look, let's think about this logically here. You tried to defraud me. You lied about being pregnant. I locked you in a thing, kidnapped you, blah, blah, blah. Call the whole thing off. Let's not even talk about it anymore. And then she's like, no, I love justice. Where did that come from? And then they chase after him to punch him in the face for telling him off, for coming up with an actually really good idea for getting them both out of trouble.
I know. Well, they end up having a bit of an action cam confrontation, don't they, outside the house?
I know what we can do. Let's make it worse.
Mike kind of implies that Paul's interest in Summer was slightly sinister, doesn't he? He's like, what are you doing hanging around a young girl?
And
Paul
like,
sees red.
How dare you? I'm one of the 3 gay dads.
How very dare you? So, and then when Mike's back is turned, Paul pushes him over, doesn't he?
He did some little
There's a lot of... I want to make a little compilation of people, planking on Coronation Street this week. We had Summer fell on the floor. We had, Teddy. We got Mike. And it was so cold when they filmed all this as well.
He's having a nice lie down.
So Mike is now face palmed onto the stone steps outside his house. They're wondering, Paul's like, oh, I hope I haven't killed him. That'd be a bit embarrassing. But he's all right. He's not quite dead, Todd says when he goes to check. So tell you what, if there's any room on that paramedic course that Asher's going to be put on, then sign Todd up because he knows his stuff.
Todd knows the difference between a dead body and a live one.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Professional.
Yeah. Do you think
in my professional opinion,
he is quite dead? This one. Yeah, we'll bury this one, but bring that one back in a week, I reckon.
This one, I think we should put him in a car box just to see.
It reminds me of that scene from Monty Python and the Holy Grail where they bring out your dead scene and the old man's there going, I'm not dead. And the guy goes, yeah, you're nearly dead. Classic. Anyway, so I've lost where we are. Mike
gets up as they...
Oh yeah. They called the ambulance, don't they? Todd rings the ambulance.
I think Todd rings the ambulance.
Yeah, as they leave, Mike gets up because they want to show the audience, don't worry, if you're worried about Mike and you don't want to wait till the next scene, he's kind of fine. They haven't killed him. They're good guys. So they drive off. Meanwhile, Billy's finally returned to Summer, who said, you'll never guess what's happened, Dad, while you were getting your Davina latte. There's an old drama going on here.
I'm worried about...
A little bit worried about my other 2 gay dads, because they've gone chasing after Mike, and Billy's like, don't worry, it'll be fine. They're both very sensible.
I wouldn't do anything silly.
No. Then a nurse comes in and says, Summer, you've had a miraculous Weatherfield general recovery. You can go home soon.
They come in and say, you've been causing an incredible amount of drama. I'm afraid we're going to have to ask you to leave.
Summer...
Anyway, it was a doctor.
Summer, nobody wants to be in a ward with you. You're too boring. So we said to them, look, if we get rid of her and say that she can come home, will you come in their ward? And they said yes. So sling your own missus. Yeah, you go home. Paul and Todd go to debrief at the Rovers, and Paul says, oh yeah, I couldn't help it when I pushed him. Just the red mist came down and I got really angry, and I don't have any regrets about doing it though. Yeah, I'd punch him again if I had the chance.
Yeah.
And Todd realises that the reason that that Paul was getting so angry at Mike's accusation was because it reminded him of Cal.
This was hastily...
Infamous kiddie fiddler Cal, what's his name, from a couple of years ago.
This felt fake. This felt like retconning. Like, what? You don't need to explain why Paul doesn't think and just punches.
No, he is a kind of violent caveman.
He's the laddish gay dad.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the most butch one of them all.
And then you've got Billy, who's the sensitive one, and Todd, who's the cerebral one.
Yeah.
So that was his job, to punch people.
Yeah.
And really, it was Todd's job to stop him from doing it, but he didn't do a very good job.
Sometimes I like the callbacks to the old stories.
It was tenuous.
But this one was just like, oh, okay, yeah, you didn't really need
and
to.
And then he says something about, I remember when me and Billy Paul says, well, me and Billy used to be together. I didn't have a care in the world. And then Todd goes, ooh.
Yeah, it's kind of looking like Todd is having designs on Billy now,
Are
maybe.
they all going to have a big love triangle
polyamorous
again?
They're going to have Corrie's first polyamorous wedding.
Well, they can have
first.
They can have a gay dad commune and all raise Summer together.
Yeah. God would definitely be fine with that, Billy. Don't worry.
That's all right.
So later on, Aaron and Summer are holding each other on the sofa. They've got back home. She's fine, and he's like, "Oh, I wish I could have rescued you, but I'm just too useless." And Summer says, "Oh, Mike, she showed up at the hospital. I was so scared. Oh, hold me, Aaron, hold me."
She's really lathering this on, isn't she? I was so scared.
Milking
of Mike.
it, Summer. Todd, it was probably a very scary situation, but you're out, you're fine now. And this is when Todd texts Billy to tell him that they're fine. And unless I understood this right, this was the first contact that Todd and Paul had with Billy since dashing off from the hospital. But they've had plenty of time to go and have a drink at the Rovers and everything.
But they were just chatting and having a beer.
Yeah. End of the episode. Billy is oh no, sorry, I missed a bit. I missed a very key important bit of information here, because the police turn up and they say, "Oh, I want to arrest you." No, there was a violent assault, didn't they?
And
outside Mike and Esther's house. We saw your van.
Is that your van?
And Paul says, "Oh, it wasn't a violent assault. It was just a shove." and Todd says,
"You idiot."
Oh. It was me. Everybody loved it when Laura Nealon said that she killed Rick last year. So I'm gonna see if I can get my own moment in the spotlight.
What, the audacity of Mike here to grass him up?
Yeah, I know.
The audacity. Maybe he's only done it because then he can have more leverage over them to try to stop Summer.
Possibly.
If I was Mike, I would have just gone round there and gone, you pushed me over. It's all on my Ring doorbell, idiot. If you don't drop the charges against me for kidnapping you, I'm gonna get you.
That's a really good point. I mean, the charges were dropped at the end of the week, weren't they?
It all ended up fine in the end.
That could have been a good little twist. The fact that it was actually recorded on his Ring doorbell, which they made a big thing of existing on the early episode in the week, on Monday's episode. But oh well.
If I was Mike, I would have gone immediately inside the house and gone, delete that, that's so embarrassing.
I can't believe you got me from behind.
Me over.
So end of the episode, Billy finds out about Todd's confession to pushing Mike and bashing his head on the stone step, and he's really, really mad, and then Todd gets arrested.
Oh,
Friday is kind of... quite a fair bit happened on it, but it feels like it's de-escalating fast now. Esther is just...
like it's over now.
Yeah, it does. Don't say it too soon, Gemma. Don't get people's hopes up.
I really hope it is, because this was fine. If this is the end,
Esther seems to have been just made the good guy now.
I told you she wasn't evil.
I was convinced that Esther was the most evil one out of them all, and I think some of the theories that we'd seen and come up with was that Esther was the main evil ringleader here.
I would have liked her more if she had been, but I'm glad that Coronation Street has decided not to demonise another woman for wanting a baby.
Well, she was always the one giving the evil, seemingly controlling looking stares at Mike when we saw some...
Mike or Summer?
At Mike. But we... Well, I thought so, but now I guess the reason we know that is because she's still a little tetchy about the whole affair.
I think people say that about me and you.
What?
Like, I give you evil controlling stares.
You do.
Yeah. But nobody knows the real reason.
So anyway, Esther says, I've split up with Mike, that's all over. He's been charged with kidnapped, and very handily, as always seems to happen in these circumstances, he's dropped the case against Summer.
But Todd's still...
People are always dropping charges against people.
This is why the Weatherfield police don't bother investigating any crimes.
And I think I'm right in saying, correct me if I'm wrong, legal-minded listeners, you can't just drop charges against people. Isn't it a case that you're a witness to the crime?
Well, it's the king versus whoever, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not you versus
them. Yeah. So I don't think you can just drop charges.
Yeah, but you can be a hostile witness.
Yeah, I don't know, anyway. But for soap convenience's sake, that's all over. But Todd's still not been released by this point, although he is the next scene, when George drives him back to the police station. Very, very mad, because What was it? He said
He messed
made
up a funeral
George was supposed to be officiating at a funeral, and he made him say the wrong thing to the grieving widow or something.
It wasn't
a
widow;
sure.
It was his sister.
Oh, was it? Okay, I don't know.
And
but
he's
anyway,
like, you
George
read
is
the Dropbox information I gave
George
you.
is so mad at Todd. That he's going to sack him from the Undertakers because he's a massive liability. Obviously, Todd didn't do anything wrong, and he just been a good old friend to Paul, and he stood up for him because Paul's worried about being sent down again because he's already been in prison.
I would sack him for that.
What, dishonesty?
I'd sack him for bringing me into disrepute by lying about the fact that I pushed over a guy because he accused my friend of being a paedophile.
Well, whatever the reason, Todd's out of a job by the end of that scene. It doesn't show very
good. What's the word? A very good judgment, does it? I'd be sacking for that.
Paul finds George in the cafe later and trying to get Todd his job back, and George is like, nope, sticking to the guns.
I thought it was very
Eileen's
bold
always
of
telling
him.
me not to be too soft on Todd, so
She'll be
felt
thrilled
like
when she finds out I've sacked her son.
this whole thing with Todd losing his job today was a bit
silly.
Like drama for the sake of drama, and he gets his job back at the end of the episode. So brilliant. We had a couple of end of scene cliffhangers about Todd. Is he going to be able to work with the Undertakers again? It's like, yes, he's fine. It's completely status quo at the end of the episode.
Another example of Coronation Street doing something drastic with no consequences, just for a throwaway bit of drama. We didn't need George to fire Todd for the afternoon.
No, and it was
very
very nice of Todd that he gave him his job back and forgave him at the end. But we already know that George is nice.
George, yeah.
I'd have rather they'd have dedicated more time to the Stephen story in tonight's episode. Considering there was a murder that went on, it felt like the Stephen story had a fairly even share of some of the main stories. It
would have just been sufficient for George to have said, I'm so disappointed and shocked, and I can't believe you do this. You've let me and your mum down. I'm just baffled as to why you would do such a thing, and then to say, oh yeah, I get it now.
I suppose what it did was make Paul want to confess, wasn't it? Because he eventually.
But then at the end, he was on his way to confess, and they were like, "Don't worry about it; it's all been sorted."
It all gets sorted, basically. So
this is what I mean about consequences.
Paul goes into the cafe and tells George, oh no, it was actually me, and Todd was just being nice. So George goes and finds Todd at the end of the episode somewhere and says he can have his job back. Summer's back. Mike's dropped the complaint against the person that pushed him on the step because why not? And the only other thing that happened here is that Summer says, right, gay dads, come round to the flat later. I've got some exciting news that I can't possibly tell you here on the street because I don't have any sea salt and balsamic vinegar crisps or whatever it was in a bowl. They meet up later, and she's decided to go to university. She's going to reapply. No one's going to have you. Not if they've been watching Coronation Street in the past year. Certainly not Oxford.
She's not going to Oxford now. She's cheated on it. It doesn't matter whether she, what she like. Unless you can hide that on your record that you cheated on an exam. I'm sorry, but I don't see that you are ever gonna get rid of that stain on your record.
Well, she went through a period for the first half of last year worrying that every single bad thing that she did, Oxford would somehow find out about.
Yeah.
So if they haven't found out about her now. No, I think, yeah. It absolutely makes sense for this character to go to university. Clearly, she's supposed to be. I'm not going to say clearly she's bright, but clearly everybody thinks she's bright. Therefore, she seems like university material. But I guess she's just going to end up going to, the same one as Amy. She's going to end up going to Manchester or Salford or something around there, and she'll still be able to stay in the show. But I don't know. How did you find this storyline this week? Well, is it a conclusion? You said it's feeling like it's nearly over.
If this isn't the end, I don't know what they can drag out from it anymore.
I'm quite surprised, to be honest, because, when Summer got pregnant earlier this year and we thought that, this story's going to drag on till May and Esther and Mike are going to be really sinister and they're gonna rape Summer and she's going to be pregnant with Mike's baby and all that. And now it feels like that can't happen, can it?
It could have got really, really dark, couldn't it? I just feel like it's a bit of a wasted opportunity. But hey,
I'm not complaining if it's been brought to a conclusion months before we thought it was going to.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think we needed a surrogate storyline and these characters who may or may not have been in a weird cult.
I think that's going to be our headcanon for now.
To make Summer collapse from diabetic coma again, because she does that on the regular by herself.
I thought the other thing, if this is towards the end, climax wise, it was quite good, because I honestly really did enjoy the stuff with her being trapped in a nursery, and I thought that some of the tension that was being built on Monday's episode was leaps and bounds better than some of the tension they had in tonight's episode when there was actually a murder. Absolutely. Like when Mike goes up to Summer's room to give her a cup of tea or anything, I was like, oh, is Summer going to be on the side of the door? Is she going to pounce him or something? Like I was really thinking how that had me properly gripped. And I don't know whether it was the lighting or the fact that it was filmed inside a real house, or was it the direction or what? But there was just something about those scenes on Monday's episode that I was on the edge of my seat about, honestly. So if this is the end, I'm going to say great climax, possibly extended a little more than it needed to with the whole, oh, is Paul going to get in trouble? Oh no, Todd's going to take the blame, but then it's all right. I don't think it needed that. But the other thing that this could possibly be is just, a little break for a few weeks while the whole block storyline thing, telling does its thing, and then it will pick up again in February. I don't know.
I was frustrated with this if this is the end, because this was the perfect opportunity to give Summer a bit of agency in her own storyline and stand up for herself for once. There was no reason at all why she couldn't have been a bit more instrumental in rescuing herself.
Yeah, she really didn't do
she just
anything,
collapsed,
did she?
And then they had to phone the ambulance. It was just her modus operandi. And I went on Twitter and I asked everybody yesterday if Summer redeems herself, would that be a good? Would you
redeemed herself in what way? Were you
I just said would a Summer redemption arc make your Corrie 2023? And 53% said yes and 47% said no. But on the whole, most of the comments were like, nah, I'm not really feeling it.
Yeah, well, people always like to comment in the negative on Twitter, won't they?
Well, the funniest one was the person who said, what Summer has gone through in the show is something many young women go through these days. Oh, these things should never be cheapened because an audience want a happy ever after you go girl moment. So here's my question.
Many young girls go through everything that Summer's been through.
This is my question to the young women listening to us at the moment. I'm really sorry about your surrogacy and diabetes and cheating and gay dad issues.
And alcoholic father-in-laws. And
and I'm sorry if anything we've said belittles your experience. And I do agree that you shouldn't redeem yourself because that would just be too simplistic an end to the story. So I think that was totally right. Bang on that tweet.
Anyway,
sorry, but am I like it's very, very mixed here about whether or not they want Summer. I think a lot of people think that they're just so over her they don't want her to come back from this, but I really
they just don't want her to be in it. I wouldn't mind. I'd love it. I used to love
herself.
I used to love Summer. I don't at the moment. A redemption story for her where she became badass Summer would be quite fun, but let's not have it yet.
This would have been the perfect opportunity to have just tied a little bow on this where she could have I mean, it's not her fault that she went into, obviously, it's beyond her control that she had the diabetic issue, and it was his fault for locking her in there. It wasn't her mismanagement this time. But I just really felt like this was the perfect opportunity for her to have a bit of agency for herself, and they didn't let her do it. And I don't really know why, because having a weak female character with a diabetic, with a medical issue that she can't overcome doesn't feel very
very Corrie.
It doesn't feel Corrie at all because it's like from the very first episode, all of the women in it were hard as nails. And obviously they hadn't invented diabetes back then, so none of them had that. But do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
there just wasn't. We could have ended this story triumphantly with her rescuing herself and saying, "I'm not going to be a victim anymore, and I'm going to go to university," and then I would have actually been really happy for her. Instead, I'm just thinking, okay, go to university then. Maybe you should leave for a few years and go to university and maybe not come back. How about that?
Yeah.
And I don't want to feel that about any characters.
What did you? Any thoughts? I'm kind of guessing the answer is no about this, but on the potential of Paul, because he's going back with Billy, because he was kind of saying, "Oh, everything was so great when I was with Billy. I never got angry when I was with Billy." Is he going to try and What did you talk about it earlier?
No, I don't remember that being true.
Oh no, I definitely don't remember that. Is he going to try and get back with Billy? Is Todd? Are we going to have another love triangle again? Because you know what, I can't be doing with that. I think that was it 2 years ago, 2021, where it felt like the first half of the year was just a love triangle between the gay dads. I do not need a repeat of that. Thank you very much.
And Todd just being Machiavellian in a really kind of low stakes sort of way that never really worked out.
He played the video at the launch of the whatever it was. Don't remember.
I really like them as a trio. Not as much as I think Corrie wants me to like them, but I do appreciate them as a sort of a parenting coalition.
It's all right, but she just needs to grow up. But she doesn't need them anymore. I think if she does go away to university, it'll do her the world of good.
Okay.
Last very important thing. I've written a note here, so it must be important. Summer's robot did make an appearance in this week's Coronation Street. It's moved. It used to be on that back wall, didn't it? Which we used to see all the time. But now it's kind of up on a side wall, high up somewhere, surveying the lounge area. But thank you very much, Coronation Street, for throwing that in there for us. Gemma, I'm going to pass over to you for the Daisy storyline and what has been going on there.
So on Monday, she gets more flowers from Justin, more daisies. It says, "To Daisy, I can't stop thinking about you, Justin." I wonder if he's not called Justin at all, and the person, the florist, just doesn't understand what he's saying. Daniel's like, "Oh, what's this?" And Daisy says, "Oh no, Justin's a florist, and I'm just trying to get some ideas." And he's also married, so nothing to worry about. It's just still part of the wedding planning. And he believes her. And Daisy's with Jenny and Glenda. And this was a really great week for Jenny, Daisy and Glenda scenes. They still work really well together.
They're a great little trio together, yeah.
She admits that she feels bad about lying to Daniel about it. And Glenda says, "We should tell him the truth." And Daisy says, "No, I'm going to text this DJ to get him to leave me alone. Because she thinks this is Justin." So, what's the DJ called? He's
Keith.
No, he's called DJ something.
I don't know.
He must have a cool name, so she doesn't know what his name is. She just knows him as DJ Nice Teeth or whatever. So on Wednesday,
I'm going to call him that.
On Wednesday, they're trying to make up the guest list. And
for the wedding, Daisy and Daniel.
Yes. And Daniel's looking at it and going, "Who are all these people? They don't even have real names." And she says, "No, these are my friends. These are my influencer friends. They're my contacts." And Daniel and Jenny are not really impressed about the fact that she just seems to have all these internet friends that she wants to invite to her wedding. And Daisy says, "No, they're my friends now."
I'm like, how many real friends do you have, Daniel? Because I can't think of any.
He's got like, on his side it's got dad, mum, ?
He probably thinks that all
30.
his poets are his friends. He wants to bring Keats and Heaney and Shelley and all that.
Oh my god, I bet you he's going to have themed tables after his favourite romantic poets, and Daisy's going to have to go along with it because he won't let him do anything else.
Literally, Daniel hasn't got any friends at all. I thought this was really interesting. I'm loving that they're delving a little bit more into Daisy and her social media, and they're really sticking with the fact that social media and her Instagram and everything are important to her character, and it feels very, very genuine to me. And like when she was doing the picture of her wedding ring with the brown nail varnish today and everything. And the fact that she wanted to have her internet friends to her wedding is probably a thing that's, more and more common in weddings these days.
Oh, yeah.
People that maybe you've never even met before.
I'm not quite sure what the deal is, whether she's met them or not. I can't really remember. But, we all know you can make friends on the internet that you don't not necessarily have met.
Well, yeah, I've got an awful lot more friends that I communicate with online than in real life.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, if me and you were to get married now, who would we invite? That
would we go right? We're having a special Patreon guest list, Rover's Tears only. So if you want to come to our wedding, make sure you sign on for the $10 a month, and you need to have been our patron for at least 6 months by the time of our wedding.
That would be an interesting one to explain to our families and friends, wouldn't it?
These people.
Well, secret.
It is
reveal
really
time.
Interesting to. I wonder how Coronation Street is going to tackle this because. it is still a bit strange to invite people that you've not met and the first time they meet you is at your wedding.
But it's a lot less strange than it was years ago. I wonder, do you think that Daisy will want to live stream her wedding?
Oh, it's too much effort.
Will she want to live stream her wedding night?
Oh no, Michael.
That's for Daisy's OnlyFans account.
No, oh no, Michael.
We all know she's got
Just
one.
shut up, horrible boy. I'm so glad that we got married before Pinterest was a thing. Because I would have just been obsessed with Pinteresting my...
We actually had a proper physical board, didn't we?
We did, yeah. I think we did.
We did. We had a load of bits of paper stuck all over it. Pastel colours.
It wasn't that long ago, everybody, honestly. Promise you. Okay, so later on, Daniel's not going to let this lie. He wants her to have her school friends there because just like he does... His school friends are going to be there, obviously.
Oh, yeah, clearly. He didn't even go to school, did he?
He was locked in a house.
Yeah, it was like, yeah.
Anyway, he asks Jenny about who do you remember Daisy's friends being? And she just reels off a bunch of names. And he's like, I'm going to secretly ask them to come.
What a meddler.
I know, what a stupid ass.
Why would you do this? Seriously.
So they can have this scene.
Having a nice surprise. You don't invite people to a wedding... That
as a surprise. No, it's odd. Well, listen, we said this before about people's weddings on Coronation Street and said that's silly, and then people written in and gone, actually that's what we did for my wedding. So
just imagine like if you'd have done that to me for our wedding and you'd asked mum and dad who were Michael's friends when he was little, and then
the dentist's son.
Yeah. The dentist? No, that was, you're thinking of Martin Tooth, the milkman's son.
Oh yeah, of course I
can understand your... Yeah, so you're Martin Tooth and Stephen Emmons, the boy from Two Doors Away. If they turn up at my wedding and be like, hi, what are you doing here?
I know, if you had invited some of my friends from middle school, it would have been really embarrassing because I haven't spoken to them and I probably should have caught up with them a bit more than I have done.
I think his heart was in the right place, but... Nah.
Anyway, Daisy sees him looking up his friends and she loses her mind and tells him what you just said. You got no right. She freaks out. Then she comes back later and she says, listen, I'm sorry. We can't invite these people. When Tom died, my brother, everybody remember that? I was really upset and my friends were really nice to me at first. But after a while, they got fed up with me being sad. And they were like, my friend Samantha was accusing me of milking it, and they called me Daisy Downer. And I used to cry all the time. They are not my people. I want my followers. I want my influencer friends. I don't want these people. They're fake. And Daniel's like, wow, internet people are real, and personal friends are fake. I'm learning something. He says, okay, I'll tell them that they're on the B list if any of the A-listers pull out. And Daisy's like, yeah, that's right. Put those cows in their place. I'm frightened. I feel a bit sad for Samantha and the gang. I wonder if they've been maligned here and Daisy's remembering things wrong.
As far as Daisy knows, maybe some of her friends are Samantha and the gang and they're just using their internet handles and she
maybe
realised.
Justin is Samantha. Thought of that, Daisy?
I think we know who Justin is.
On Friday, Daniel comes to the pub to give Daisy a kiss and invite her to dinner later. Then more flowers arrive and she gets annoyed. She says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to post a takedown message on social media to warn people away from this DJ guy. He is a freak and he won't leave me alone. So she puts this post up accusing this guy of harassing her, and it works. She gets 2,000 likes. Everyone's replying saying, yeah, he's a dog. I hate him. And then the DJ comes in. He's like, what are you doing? Can you please take this post down? I've lost a gig. I didn't do anything to you. What are you saying I did to you? And she says, nice try, Justin. And he says, I'm not Justin, my name's Keith Ramsbottom.
No, was it Ram? It was something like that, wasn't it?
And she says, no way, I don't believe you. And he says, look, here's my driving licence. Why would I sign it Justin? And they're all standing around bamboozled. Todd, by the way, had helped write this snarky post. And he was replying to everybody.
Well, he was a bit tiddly, drunk. Wasn't he? After the whole... incident with Summer and Paul.
So this poor guy has to prove that he has not been sending her flowers, and she realises she may have made a mistake. At this point, Daniel comes in, and Keith starts saying, "Look, you were flirting with me all night, but I'm sure you were flirting with other people. These flowers must be from somebody else that you were flirting with." And Daisy's like, "I wasn't flirting with you. Shut up. I'm engaged actually." And Daniel's saying, "What's happening?" Daisy has said she has to take the post down, so she and Daniel go to the back room, and he's a bit miffed that she hadn't told him about the flowers, and she's racking her brain trying to work out who this Justin is, but she can't think of who it could be.
It's clearly the guy at the hospital, isn't it?
Well, it's either the guy at the hospital or just somebody who's stalking her randomly, because that nice guy bloke could be the hospital man, or it could just be...
What, the one that's sending her messages and liking her posts on Send
because
PX.
she probably doesn't realise how much information that she's given out about herself. She if they know that she works at the pub because she keeps taking photos of herself in the pub.
Yeah, exactly. She's very easily trackable.
So if you wanted to send her flowers, you could just send them there. They don't necessarily know that she lives there.
Yeah. I wasn't mega interested in the whole DJ being bombarded with daisies and all that sort of stuff. But Wednesday's episode in this storyline was by far the peak for me, because we got some Daisy backstory, and I love a bit of backstory on a character. Daisy's one of my favourites at the moment, and I thought yet again Charlie Jordan played a blinder of kind of opening up and showing her
vulnerable side.
Yeah, vulnerable side, exactly. When she was talking about all these bullies at school and everything, and it does go some way into explaining why she is the way she is now. I just thought that she played it fantastically.
Yeah, she's really blossomed, Daisy, as a character.
All the stuff about Tom as well. Love a call back to that. Being upset, everybody kind of milking it. Girls can be so can boys. I mean, children can be really cruel to each other, can't they? And hearing that poor old Daisy went through this was certainly heartbreaking.
I'm a bit surprised, though, that she seems to have just, slandered this man and ruined his reputation, lost him work on the internet with seemingly no real repercussions or
I know.
No, but I think it's really irresponsible of Coronation Street to not even address the fact that she's used this power that she's got for a really bad purpose, and she's accused somebody without really having any proof, and nobody seems to really have dwelt on that, or thought to themselves, oh, that's pretty bad, probably shouldn't do that again. She's just gone, sorry, I'll just take it down. And is that not going to hurt her reputation? This would be a massive scandal. And if this is real life, this would be a massive scandal. If a social media influencer attacked a public figure and called him a creep and said that he was kind of sexually harassing her, then it turned out it was a case of mistaken identity, and she just took the post down. Nobody would forget this. They'd be harassing her for weeks. Whatever harassment she got off of this Justin would be nothing compared to the misogyny that would come her way, based on, how dare you, all the women are all the same, think you're so hot, nobody cares about you, who would send you flowers anyway, you're not that pretty. That's what she'd get.
Well,
she'd get that for weeks.
Maybe that's what's to come.
And Justin, as well, he's a victim of sexism here, because they just assumed that because he was a...
Hang on, do you mean Justin or do you mean Keith?
Sorry, Keith, yeah. He's a victim too, because they just assume because he's a good-looking guy, he's obviously on the hunt for harassing women. She didn't even ask him.
Anyway.
It's just that I thought was a bit of a misstep in a story that's really leaning into trying to explore the world of social media influencers. They're doing an all right job.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to me.
That was a glaring misstep to me, because I know how it would have gone, and it wouldn't have gone well for Daisy.
As a social media influencer yourself.
Well, so are you.
Oh,
if we went onto our Twitter and gone, oh, not going to say who it is, but somebody has been harassing us, and we think it's this person, and we were wrong. Would you not expect us to be in total?
If we yeah.
In absolute trouble for weeks, and that would ruin our reputation.
We just said that Georgia Taylor, she's a right cow.
But you know what I mean? Nobody would trust us again, and rightfully so, because you've gone and try and ruin somebody else's reputation. And in the world of Coronation Street fandom, it's a fairly small kind of world, isn't it?
Yeah.
We know practically everybody, and if we started throwing accusations at people, I didn't really expect to have it thrown back in our faces. Yeah. And this is I would never do anything like that. So it was kind of surprising to me that she did it so cavalierly.
Well, wasn't she coerced a bit by Todd?
I'm not supposed to really we're not supposed to look into it that much, but I wasn't,
saying. But it's interesting hearing your perspective.
But can you see from what I'm saying about like in our world, and the thing is about Daisy is that she's definitely a local influencer.
Yeah,
because if she wasn't, she wouldn't even be able to invite these people to her wedding, because on the internet you can reach anybody. They might as well be, they could be American, Canadian, Australian, anywhere, but they're obviously all from Weatherfield, otherwise they wouldn't be able to get to the wedding.
Very good point.
And this local DJ, he's able to come into the pub himself and go, "What the hell are you doing?"
Right, let's move on to some other stories. We've got the Jacob's dad story, Jacob's dadder. This one to me, it's not gripping me particularly, and you were feeling this right from the beginning as well, weren't you, when there was the possibility of money laundering or drug smuggling or anything through the bistro, and it was just like, oh, here we go again. And I like Nick, I like Leanne, I don't mind Damon. Great that it's giving Ryan something to do a little bit, but there's just something about it that's feeling a bit stale and been there, done that,
Well, it's Leanne's involved in drugs again. She doesn't even realise it this time.
Leanne's trying to contact Jacob at the beginning of Monday's episode just to underline the fact that he has definitely gone, and she can't get hold of him. And Simon and Leanne.
Amy tells them.
Yeah. Amy tells them and says, "Oh yeah, this is what happened. Jacob was doing drugs again. I'm not interested in him. We cut ties." And Leanne starts to get a bit worried that Jacob's, he's been working at the bistro and maybe he's been dealing from there.
It doesn't take a genius to work out the fact that there was a drugs dog in the bistro the other day, and now Jacob's gone and Amy's saying he was a drug dealer.
So Damon ends up following after Amy in the street, and he's like saying, "Oh, that's really sad that you and Jacob have split up. Oh, what a shame. You two were so great together." And Amy's like, "Well, he was into drugs, and I'm not interested in him anymore." And,
just say no.
Yeah, and Carla then follows on after her, has a chat with her, and she's kind of gutted, and it was quite sweet, because I thought that Amy and Jacob were quite a lovely couple, and Amy's, although she's, saying, rah, rah, "I'm really mad at him, I don't care," but she's obviously has had her little heart broken here, and Carla says, "Look, don't worry, you've got a lot of life to live ahead of you, go and live it." And Amy says, "Oh yeah, that's a great slogan, I'm going to put it on a t-shirt." So Wednesday's episode, empty at the bistro, no bookings there. They're kind of wondering, is it to do with the drugs raid or whatever that happened the other day? And Nick says, "Look, Ryan, you haven't had a story for a while. How do you fancy getting in on this one?" "Yes, please," says Ryan. "I know all about Damon and what he was like over in Ibiza when he had his clubs and there were drugs being sold there and everything. You want me to find out a little bit more about it on the down low?" "Yes, please." So Ryan goes off to do his little investigating and finding more of the dirt on Damon, who comes into the pub later, Damon does, and Leanne has a bit of a go at him. It's for the whole Jacob thing, and this is when Nick has to jump in to defend him. You've got to keep him sweet, and says, "Oh no, he didn't know about Jacob being a massive druggie." And Damon's like, "Yeah, no, I didn't know about it. I'm on the level. In fact, I've got some great ideas for you getting more customers, Leanne." So they are going off our little meeting together. Later on in the kitchen, Nick confronts Damon with what Jacob told him about him being the one behind the drugs delivery. And it's like, "I spoke to Jacob, he said you were well in on it." And Damon's like, "What, me? Drugs? Oh no, I know nothing about that. What a massive lie. I'm offended. And excuse me, I've got other things to do." So later still, Ryan reports back to Nick. So he's been doing his digging, and the rumour is that Damon was involved in some pretty dodgy stuff over in Ibiza. So Nick's like, "Right, okay, Damon. My trusted source, not going to name names, but it's Ryan, has told me that you're a massive Ibiza drugs lord." And just for lols, Damon's like, "You're right, I am." He strokes his ego, does Nick, with that fact, and he's like, "Yeah, I am. I'm a massive drug dealer.
I'm
what
a drug lord.
What are you going to do about it? And in fact, you're going to be receiving quite a few packages from my associates in the coming weeks and months, and there's nothing you can do about it, because if you do say no, I will have one of those associates deal with you." And Nick's like,
"Oh no, what do we do
"Oh,
now?"
you got me. There's nothing I can do now apart from a good old squint here." So later on, and Leanne's having a meeting with Damon. They're having a lovely old time together. Nick doesn't want her.
They're coming up with ideas.
They are. They've got a new menu
money.
and everything, yeah.
And he's like, "Drugs."
It's just cover everything in LSD. It'll make it taste an awful lot
just take
better.
everyone's
Everyone will
money
love
out of
it.
their pockets.
Nick doesn't want her finding out about what Ryan's discovered about Damon's drug lordery, so he has to kind of play along with liking him too. At the end of the episode, Nick has Damon in the office again, says, "Stay away from Leanne." And Damon's like, "Whatever, I don't get, you still here?" And then he makes up a phone call to some of his druggy mates, and he's like, just on a power trip, isn't he? He's like, showing Nick who's the boss.
Hi, is that Jeffrey? Yeah, Jeffrey. I've got some drugs here. Yeah. Do you want to come and have them? Yeah. Come and buy drugs in the bistro. Yeah. Ha ha. Oh, sorry, there's somebody here. Sorry, Nick, could you bugger off? I'm trying to make a phone call. Thanks. Bye, darling.
I did enjoy.
Damon more now.
I like Damon more now.
No, he's a lovely now.
Oh, I like how he's put Nick in his place and is just like, what are you going to do about it?
Oh, Nick, you absolute numpty idiot. What did you think was going to happen?
I know. Or he shouldn't have accepted that money off Harvey, should he? Yeah. Really, it's that silly idea. So, I mean, I reckon Leanne's going to be in danger at some point. It's all going to be Nick's fault because she's getting really close to Damon. Maybe she's going to find something.
Maybe Sam will be involved.
Maybe Ryan's gonna. This could be a leaving storyline for Ryan. Not that's no spoiler. I mean, there's not been any announcement that Ryan Prescott's leaving the show, but he's not had a whole lot to do. So this could be a way of getting rid of him. I don't know.
We could give him a storyline because he's a drug addict.
Well, yeah, he has done drugs in the past. Has Ryan Connor in a previous life unhead. So I don't know, but it's not bringing me joy. It's not sparking joy, this storyline, in quite the same way as some of the others. It's fine,
Ryan's
but it feels like it's been done before.
I don't know if I can work at the bistro anymore. It's too tempting because we've got this bottomless brunch and drugs morning on Saturdays. I don't know if I can cope.
Can't keep away from it. I've been dry for 10 years, but okay. Well, let's move on. We've got nothing else to say about
Not
that.
Really.
Let's do the Fiz and Tyrone storyline, which had some nice bits, didn't it?
It was interesting, wasn't it? Okay,
yes.
So on Monday, Hope talks to Sam about her dad, and she wants to know, is it weird that she wants to know about him even though he's a murderer? And he seemed quite nice, and there's nothing about how nice he was in the book. And Sam says, I wanted to know about my dad too before I met Nick, which is kind of funny. It's kind of like insinuates that now he knows Nick, he doesn't want to know any more about him. So Hope comes home at lunchtime because there's been a leak or something.
Oh, God. It was last week that Corrie was doing a bit of a fourth wall breaking reference when Gail starts listing all the reasons why, was it Max or Lily or someone should have come home earlier, and she's like, oh, has there been a gas leak, or is there no water or anything? And then they use that excuse again.
I don't understand why we need to have an excuse as to why a child's in their own house.
But it's in the middle of the day.
But why did it have to be in the middle of the day? It could have been any time.
That's the thing. I think sometimes Coronation Street just needs child characters to be on the street during the day, and they keep coming up with these ridiculous excuses, and now they can't even be bothered. They just have hopes out of there's a leak or something. It's like, who cares? She's home, deal with it, viewers.
So she's got some homework to do, and she starts asking questions about John and asks what his favourite food was, and Fiz doesn't want to talk about it. And she goes to leave, and Hope puts on the tape, but it gets all churned up, and she cries out. She really overreacts.
Well, yeah, she
throws it on the sofa.
Yeah, because this is literally her lifeline to her dad, and she was talking about. Was it later this episode? Was it last week? I can't remember, where we learned that she kind of has conversations with the tape and everything.
Yeah,
this is like her dad, and now it's been churned up and broken, and
she doesn't
it's
know
gone.
that she can fix it.
No, I didn't think she overreacted.
No. I mean to say that she overreacts for what Fiz thinks that it is.
Yeah.
So she overreacts and goes, "Are you happy now?" And if you're Fiz, you're thinking, "This is a bit of a weird thing." Yeah, because
Fiz thinks it's still Sam's mixtape.
Yeah, she doesn't know what it is. So Fiz fixes it, and first of all she goes to speak to Tyrone, and she's talking about how worried she is and how Hope got really frustrated about Sam's tape. And Tyrone says, "Oh, I'll fix it." So that's why I brought it up, because it's weird. Mm. It was weird enough for Fiz to go and tell Tyrone that she's really gone mad about that. So Fiz and Tyrone go back to the house, and they get the tape working and start playing it. And he doesn't realise who the voice belongs to, but Fiz recognises it immediately, and she starts freaking out. Because obviously this would be incredibly confronting to suddenly hear your ex-husband's murdering voice coming
beyond the grave 10 years after he's died.
And not just that, but to realise that your daughter's been listening to this whole time. So Tyrone tries to call Hope on the phone, but she doesn't answer. So they go to see Sam, and he says Hope's on a walk, and they ask him about the tape.
Oh yeah, this is when he talked about her having a conversation with it, wasn't it?
Yeah, and saying, she just wants to know her dad, and she talks, and she pauses the tape and has a conversation, and they're like, oh my God, what have we done to this poor girl? Hope gets back, and Fiz and Tyrone aren't mad at her because they've realised how important this is to her, and how they've kind of like not let her know anything about her. It's really difficult. I really wish they'd spent more time on this, because this is such a fascinating story.
They've sheltered her from all information about him.
And like, the question is that the right thing to do or not? And I don't know the answer. I mean, from a perspective of like John Stape in the context of Coronation Street, feels a bit mean, because we all know that he didn't really kill any main characters, and he didn't really need to do it.
He did have a lot of lovely sides. He was the nicest of Corrie's murderers.
But if you're one of the victims, how would you feel about this? And there are plenty of other people who have murdered, who probably have, there's probably not lots of people, but there are people in the situation, and what do you judge it by? How bad the crime was?
Yeah.
Is it a punishment to Hope? Well, she hasn't done anything to not ever allow her to know her father, or is it just perverse to construct a relationship for her out of this man that took other people's lives? I really find this is like really fascinating to me, but they didn't. Really...
It was all tied. It's like with the Jade story a few years ago, wasn't it? Because she came in saying all these lovely things about John, and that's when Hope's kind of hero worship of him started.
Probably,
really.
Yeah, I think you're right. So Fiz apologises for shutting down when she was asked about John, and says, I know you want to know about him. And Hope says, I just love hearing his voice because it makes him feel real, and I want to know what he was like as a person. And so they give her the envelope of his stuff that had been hidden away from her.
Yeah, in Gemma's attic.
So Hope and Fiz listen to the tape together, and Fiz tells her about John, and she starts talking about some nice things about him, which was quite funny. One of the things that she brings up is what his favourite animal was, which were cats, which is quite funny because that was what his alibi for keeping Rosie in his grand's attic, because he said he was going to feed the cat. So that was a funny little meta comment. And she said their song was "I'll Be Missing You" by Puff Daddy. And Hope sees a picture of Fiz and John together, and they look happy. And Hope says, "Oh, it's weird to miss someone you've never met, but that's how I feel about my dad." And Fiz is like, okay.
She's kind of realising, and it's kind of I mean, I don't think she will, but it made me think a little bit. Was she gonna start to fall in love with him again, or is she just gonna realise he wasn't all bad?
Yeah. But
I think that she kind of knew that anyway.
Well, she helped him with his crimes.
Oh yeah, I know. But I think it's taken this for her to realise he's not just a total murderer, which is what this book made him out to be. She did love him, and that particular scene with Hope and Fiz together, kind of opening up, was really, really well done. The dialogue, performance, everything was just very perfect.
It was thought-provoking, and it was an unusual situation, and it's not really an issue storyline because this is not applicable to like 99.99% of the population, but this is something that a soap can do in a really interesting way, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, they yeah.
This is a bit of a goldmine to me. I thought this was great. On Wednesday, Tyrone, Fiz, Gemma and Chesney are reminiscing. And then Chesney says, it makes me think about how many bad times Schmeichel got me through, who was his Great Dane dog. And if you didn't watch Coronation Street back in the day, unfortunately you missed one of the greatest double acts of all time, which was a tiny little ginger-haired Chesney and his great big, enormous, massive Great Dane dog called Schmeichel. And that gets them to thinking. Tyrone and Fiz go back home and tell Evelyn that maybe the girls should get a pet, and then Hope, it's like, maybe if Hope had a pet she wouldn't want a dad so much. So they decide to go to the pet shop, and Fiz wants them to get a fish, but they come back, because Tyrone went, with a chinchilla. Great, good job. They set the cage up, and Hope's like, oh, I'll walk her every day, blah, 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 empty the cage, yada, yada. And Fiz is like, I'm not going to be doing this. I know I am. And Hope talks to this animal, which she's called Scylla, and she introduces herself as Hope Dobbs, which is what's it called? It's a breakthrough for them because they wanted everyone to have the same name, and Hope's obviously now accepted her place in the family.
I thought it became odd, and I wouldn't have minded if she stayed Hope Stape, and we all kind of theorised that that Fiz would end up backing down on trying to change Hope's name. I would have thought that after she found out all the nice things about her dad and saw the lovely photos and everything, it would make her want even more to stay as a Stape.
I think she probably just feels secure as being as feeling like she could change her name and still not betray her dad.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with either way. I just didn't want them to tell her what her name should be because I hate that idea. Anyway, Tyrone and Fiz are thrilled about this. On Friday, did I say the chinchilla's name is Scylla?
Yeah.
The chinchilla?
After Scylla.
Yeah. So on Friday...
Named Scylla, named after Scylla, being Fiz's mum.
Fiz's mum. How weird would that be?
I know, like, are you going to, phone her up and tell her, we've got a Scylla? You never guess what. I get how it's a funny name for the show, because it makes us, the viewers, think of Scylla, but in real life, to name a pet after your grandma... That's odd.
I don't think children do that, do they?
No.
On Friday, Fiz is tired because this bloody chinchilla's been up all night because they're nocturnal. And I remember when I used to have hamsters, I hated it. Keep me awake. Why do we do this? These poor animals shouldn't be pets, should they? Anyway, so sorry if you have a chinchilla. It just feels like incompatible, doesn't it? A little bit. I think chinchillas are a bit more of a... I don't know.
I've never known anyone with a chinchilla, so I don't really know what they're like. But all I know is I told you this when we were watching the other day. My mum really liked chinchillas.
So we get one called Elaine?
Yeah, see, that would be weird, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be weird.
When we went to the pet shop and they had chinchillas there, Mum always think they were really cute.
They are cute.
They're an unusual and not so common pet.
My friends had chinchillas.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, were they stinky?
I just remember looking at them in a big cage, and they were always rolling around in dirt.
They're like a little cuddly toy, aren't they? With the big eyes and everything. They are pretty adorable. But yeah, I must say I've never smelt one.
No, I mean if you want a stinky pet, that's a ferret, isn't it?
Yes.
See, when we had that ferret, which we found a feral ferret, he was abandoned.
Yes, he just walked into the house.
Yeah, we looked after her.
Mm-hmm. Was it a girl?
She was called Ham. We looked after her until we could take her to a ferret rescue, and I was like, I would really like a ferret, but they do not smell good at all.
That was the weirdest thing. It wasn't our house that she walked into, was it? We were at our friend Rachel's house, and we were just sitting in the lounge.
Yes.
And a ferret walks in through the kitchen.
Like, hi guys.
So we had to catch this ferret, put it in a box in the bathroom overnight, and then take her to a ferret dealer the next day.
Ferret rescue.
Yeah.
It was so adorable. She was so adorable, and I remember opening the box because we kept her in a box in the bathroom.
Yeah.
I opened the box and look in, and then she would look up at me with this really pretty little face, like really inquisitive, kind of cheeky little face. And I was like, I'll give her a little pet and put my hand in, and she just bit my finger.
Yeah.
I was like, well, you're going to the ferret rescue.
Haven't there been like a serial ferret releaser
there was another
in the
one.
area?
Yeah, there's another one that was found.
Anyway, that's...
But then when we took it to the ferret lady, she was like, oh, yeah, this is a young girl. And she puts her hand in the box and picks this ferret up and puts it on her shoulder. And the ferret's like, brilliant, somebody who knows what they're doing. So it wasn't like a horrible ferret. It's just I didn't know what to do with it. But
anyway, that's by the by.
So, would you like a ferret or a chinchilla? Write in and let us know. So she's been kept awake, and then they start talking in the factory, and Sally says, "Oh, being kept awake, eh? I thought you meant by having lots of sex, like me and Tim like to do." And Fiz is like, "What do you mean?"
Quoting directly from the show there,
This is the subtle nature of Coronation Street. And Fiz is like, "I haven't had a good old bonk in about 10 years." And Sally says, "Well, you're newlyweds. You should be shagging 24/7."
filth,
I thought this was really
I'm going to have to put an
inappropriate.
explicit rating on this now. Thank you very much.
And she says you should make more time for relations with your husband. So
Relations, that's fine.
Because she gets off work early, she goes around to see Tyrone and says, "Hey, why don't we go home and have a little afternoon friend
Bit
session?"
of hanky-panky.
Yeah, and so they go back and they can't get down to business because the house stinks of chinchilla, because Hope hasn't cleaned the cage out and Fiz doesn't want to romp in the stench of rodent. And she just wants to clean the cage and
Have a cup of tea.
have a cup of tea. Yeah, and she looks a bit glum about it.
I thought this was a fun,
that's
silly
life.
side story that was, a bit of light relief from all the hole punch murders that were going on just across the street.
It was quite funny. I don't know I don't know if they're going to upset the chinchilla people.
I don't know where this is going at all, if anywhere. It doesn't need to go anywhere. Is this just a new pet on the street?
It's a bit. It's obviously irresponsible of them to have bought this chinchilla without really knowing anything about.
Well,
how
it's
to look after
irresponsible of Tyrone. It is very much the sort of thing that he would do, because he comes back and he's so proud of himself, isn't he? Like, hey, first look what we got, and the girls think it's amazing.
Do you think 85% of chinchillas purchased for a small child are bought by dads?
Yeah, I would think so. Dad's well, the mum's back at home doing in the
Cooking the
ironing
fish
or
fingers.
something. Yeah, no, I hope that they keep this chinchilla, because pets on Coronation Street are a rare thing these days.
What did I say?
aren't
My
they?
prediction. One of my prediction was somebody gets a pet and then it's forgotten about.
Did you?
Yes.
Did you say that this year?
Yes.
Oh, well, there we go. Maybe.
So I
that's what
think
it'll be.
there's going to be a chinchilla story, and then they'll all learn to live together, and then we'll just have maybe the cage in the background every now and then, and the sound of a squeaking wheel or whatever chinchillas do.
I want to know what Cerberus thinks of sharing a house with a chinchilla.
I mean,
I'm sure
are
he's
they
gonna be happy
are
about
they
that.
compatible? I don't know if it's a good idea to have a dog and a chinchilla in the same house. What if he opens the cage and eats it? What if the chinchilla
my
eats
gosh.
him?
We'll have to wait and see with that one, won't we? But anyway, that was all lovely. Sweet stuff.
It was
with
cool
Fiz
that they
and Hope.
actually got a chinchilla. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Maybe this is what they've spent all their budget on.
It just feels like maybe we'll, like you said, we'll never see it again, because I don't think Rover's dead. But
No.
Rover hasn't been on the show for like 4 or 5 years now, it feels like. Who else have we got? Like Cerberus is...
Peanut.
Yeah, Peanut we very rarely see. So it's a bit of a bold move to introduce a pet in Coronation Street when people don't tend to have them these days on the show.
wonder how
But people in real life do have pets, so why not?
There's a lot more pet ownership in real life than there is on Coronation Street.
Yes, yeah, the
You'd think
proportions
about
are a little bit
50%
off.
of people will have a pet.
Yeah, I reckon.
I don't understand. How disruptive is a caged mammal on set?
That's a very good point.
How expensive is it as well? Because you'd think you'd just get a hamster or two, wouldn't you? Because they all look the same. You just get a different, somebody who's got 10 beige hamsters.
I think that a chinchilla would be all right, because they're kind of fairly just slow and lumbering, but a hamster would be
Probably a bit
digging
manic.
up the sawdust, gnawing on the bars.
Yeah,
That'd be
they
worse.
love doing that, don't they?
That'd be worse to be filming with.
Oh, and
Yeah.
when they get their water bottles, and they're blah, 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 in the middle of the night.
Also,
I did really like the panning to the chinchilla, who was very obediently just sitting there looking quite cute and docile.
all good stuff, apart from Ruby, who would just seems to ruin every scene she's in at the moment by
That's awful.
not being
Can't
great,
believe you
to
said
be
that.
fair. But anyway,
Maybe Stephen can kill her next.
oh yes, Stephen kills Ruby.
That's wrong.
Oh gosh, I used to love Ruby so much. Right, so the final story then is this Gemma story. It just kind of showed its face a little bit today. It didn't go that much further than where we thought it would be last time that they had it. It's basically Michael still calling on Gemma to look after Glory, and this time he brings round £60 for the pleasure, and Gemma's like, her eyes light up. She sees the dollar signs in them when she realises how much of a gold mine she's sitting on here, and basically she goes online, registers herself as a childminder, or attempts to, and starts getting lots of messages from eager parents who are happy to drop their children off at the hovel that is number 5 Coronation Street. Does make me wonder whether they'll change their mind when they actually go round there and discover exactly what it's like. Also, does Gemma get her DBS checked? Because she's had a bit of a dodgy past, hasn't she? Can you be a childminder if you've been a gangster's mole?
It depends on what crime she has actually ever involved in.
I know. I'm
the
trying to
police
think
know
back
about.
now. I mean, I know she's definitely like, you know, overdosed on drugs before. I remember her being rushed into hospital and. But I mean, come on, Callum had a gun in his wardrobe. Surely Gemma got up to some pretty dodgy business back in the day. But I feel like that side of Gemma has been completely forgotten about. And I don't think it's going to get brought up at all. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think... but I wonder how... there's a lot of stuff you've got to do to be a childminder. It seems really complicated.
Yeah, you've got to make sure your fence is high enough so the children don't jump over it.
No, I think you're thinking about dogs. But yeah, in England...
Are you looking it up?
You can have 6 children under the age of 8, so she's already hit that.
Yeah, what's she got? She's got the quad, she's got Joseph, she's got Glory.
Yeah, that's it.
So she can squeeze a couple of others in.
No, she can't. That's it.
Oh, 6 did you say?
6
I
under
thought
the
you
age
said
of 8.
8. Oh,
but listen, of these 6, 3, a maximum of 3, may be young, and only 1 is allowed to be under the age of 1.
Oh.
So there's definitely all these, and in Wales, it's she wouldn't be allowed to do it at all, because in Wales, you can have no more than 10 children under 12, but of those 10, no more than 6 can be under 8, and no more of 3 can be under 5, and no more than 2 can be under 18.
Well, I'm sure Coronation Street has done also a very quick voggle of all this, and they're not going to contravene any of these childminding laws in this storyline at all.
Are they going to do that, or do you think she's going to realise that she's not actually allowed to?
I think they will. I don't mind this as a direction for her to go down, honestly. I think it's, you know, kind of refreshing for Gemma.
I mean, I don't know how much you get. Oh,
doesn't matter.
£60.
It's not.
Thing is, she hasn't thought about this as well, because she's going to have to register to be self-employed. She's going to have Ofsted coming round, isn't she?
Yeah.
So you don't get to keep 60 quid unless she shouldn't have registered as a childminder. She just kind of should have kept it
on the sheet,
under the table.
Line, yeah.
And that's why she's like, Gemma and Bernie were saying, oh gosh, you can get a lot more than £60 a day for it. Yes, for registered childminders, you have tax codes and pay VAT for things. Not just people that give you 60 quid of cash a day.
Right, let's rate this week's Coronation Street. I am going to go first and say...
Banging.
We're not doing that. That is not our podcast rating system. We got to get our score out of 5. I thought it was okay. I'm still just left with a slight bit of disappointment about the murder after I had it built up in my head a little bit. But there were some lovely scenes with the Daniel and Daisy storyline. The Fiz and Hope stuff was great. The summer stuff, especially Monday's episode when she was, you know, trapped, I thought that was quite exciting. So I am going to give this one 3.5 hairs on Evelyn's chinny chinchilla out of 5. What about you?
I really talking about it made me appreciate the John Stape thing. I really loved that.
It felt like a kind of a nice end, tied a bow on the story, didn't it? A little bit like the summer one. If that's the end, it's kind of ended nicely.
I thought it was really thought-provoking, and Coronation Street didn't spend a lot of time dwelling on the bigger, wider issues, but that's okay. Didn't need to make a mountain out of every molehill, do we? I really loved Stephen. I loved the visual of everybody lifting this
corpse in a box.
What's it called?
Yeah, roof
the roof box, like it was a coffin being lifted into the hearse. That was fantastic. I loved the murder. I liked Teddy confronting him. I really liked Michael sneaking in and kind of nearly catching him. Even the summer stuff was okay. I'm gonna give it 4.
Whoa.
Yes, that's right.
Go on then, 4 what?
4 Davina lattes.
Extra hot. Oat milk.
No, I would like mine with some caramel syrup, please. Right. That's what a Davina latte is. It's an extra hot, flat white with caramel syrup. Okay.
Character of the week, I am going to give to Daisy. She is rocketing up there in my points. I thought she was fab this week. All the stuff where she was opening up about her childhood, talking about how she used to cry at break time and everything. I enjoyed having confronting the DJ. Just fab stuff.
I'm going to give it to Stephen because he's a killer. He's a stone cold killer, baby.